Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sustainable Smart City joint workshop between the Urban Innovative Action Projects Airbrake Ferrara and SPIRE Baia Mare. My name is Pietro Verga, and today it will be my pleasure to facilitate this event in my capacity of UAE expert for the Airbrake Ferrara project. And this event is aiming to bring together the knowledge generated by and developed synergies by these two UAE projects that have a lot of similarities today. So I think that we can really get into our project and we can officially start. But before doing so, I would like to play a little ice-breaking game with you. So please answer these questions and see who is representing the audience. Please, can you confirm that you're seeing the survey? I'm seeing progressing. So the questions are asking where are you coming from, where are you working from, and what is your organization, and if you have been or know either of the two project cities. Already 21 have replied out of 39 participants. We expect the audience to grow very much today. And it would be nice to understand where do we all come from. So let's give another 30 seconds to answer to this survey. And then we can move to the next session. 58% of the participants have replied. So no one is answering anymore. So if everyone has put their answer, we can end the poll and let's see the results. Among those that participated, we have 4 are coming from Ferrara or near Ferrara, 4 are coming from Baia Mare, only 2 from Italy, while 8 are in Romania, 3 are from elsewhere in the EU, and 2 are from somewhere else in the EU, outside of the EU. 9 out of 22 are working from home, 12 are back in the office, and 1 is in a cafe. Now, it's a nice to have. We have 4 delegates from a public administration, 3 from a university or research center. The most of the audience comes from a private company or an SME, 9 out of 18, and 2 are freelance. 9 out of 19 have already been to Baia Mare, while 8 have not been, and 2 have not, but are willing to do so. 5 have been already to Ferrara, 9 have not, and 4 are willing to come to Ferrara. So promising numbers, and I hope after this event, many more are willing to go to either of the 2 cities. So I think that now, without any further to do, it is time to move and officially start the event with an institutional message from the UAE Secretariat. And therefore, it would be my pleasure to give the floor to our first guest of today, Nelida Hancco-Herrera. Nelida is the responsible for support to project applicants and partners, as well as for project monitoring, especially on issues related to budget and eligibility of costs from a financial and control perspective. Before joining the initiative, Nelida worked for the Interreg Northwest Europe program as financial officer. She holds 2 master's degrees, one in management of European affairs, and the second one in executive international management. She is Franco-Peruvian, and she will also have the floor as of now. So Nelida, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pietro. I think you will be helping me with the slides. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we are exploring these important topics about sustainable smart city, nature, and community technology workshop. I'm really happy to open this event because I feel that these projects SPIRE from Baia, Mare, and Break from Ferrara municipalities deserve important attention. The workshop is intended as an opportunity for UIA community to learn more about these projects around the topics of nature-based solutions, approaches for participatory environmental monitoring, and gamification and behavioral change. So to meet as well current members of the organizations working behind and help us reach out to others who might be interested in these topics. Thank you very much again, once again, for your presence today. So I will really start now to present you the UIA as an instrument of of the European Commission. So the UIA was created as an initiative of the European Commission by the DG Regio to really identify and test new solutions which can address issues related to sustainable urban development and that are of relevance of the union level, to share as well knowledge with other urban authorities across Europe around different common challenges. And thematically, these were aligned with the topics of the EU urban agenda. The UIA supports sustainable, scalable, transferable innovations in cities through the different calls for proposals we had in the current programming period, in total 5. We focused on 14 topics of the EU urban agenda. And what we offered to cities was to test their new bold ideas was a maximum funding of 5 million euro ERDF for a project with a design funding mechanism that can allow them to implement from the very first day of the eligibility period. For this, we gave them an advance payment of 50% of the project budget. So the project had in total 3 years of implementation plus a year of knowledge transfer or capturing, capitalizing. And in total, we had in the current programming period 1,165 project proposals submitted from or coming from 25 member states and the UK, I think, together. Out of these, 86 projects were approved from 19 member states and the UK. And honestly, these figures show us and show everyone the competitive nature that we had at the UIA with the different calls, as we had an average of 10% of projects being selected versus the number of projects submitted. So it was really a competitive process, and feel proud of yourselves, guys, that you really were funded by UIA. So following the midterm assessment, what is it that the UIA is funding? We highlight the following achievements from our projects so far. We find a diversity of innovations that cover service innovations, use technology, social, financial, governance, etc. Then we have the diversity of outputs planned or achieved in the application forms of the different projects, such as new services, new products, processes, technology platforms, infrastructure, equipment that are around as well, citizens and business partnerships, governance outputs, etc. So most of these core innovations we have at the project level, they have the potential to be sustained and to be scaled up in the same city or region. They have as well a huge potential to be replicated if the solution is proven to be successful. So next slide, please. One of the most common innovations we had with UIA projects was service innovation through new techniques, new ICT technologies, and new uses of these technologies to achieve the project goals when promoting the famous sustainable urban development. So I will just focus on these two topics that we have of our projects today: nature-based solutions, sustainable use of land and nature-based solutions, and air quality. For sustainable use of land nature-based solutions, the UIA projects aimed to demonstrate ways to revolutionize existing practices and reduce cities' carbon footprint. While for air quality, our projects, they aim to test innovative uses of technology to enable, inform, and incentivize more sustainable choices by citizens and users of public services. So at the end, behavior and consumption trends can be changed in the time. So in this slide, you will find different practical examples of some of our projects' outputs. Two of them are from completed projects under urban mobility topic, and 2 other ongoing projects under air quality. While I'm using the example of urban mobility, because you have to keep in mind that sustainable use of land and nature-based solutions was only approved under Call 4 and Call 5, so and air quality Call 3 and 5, and therefore we do not have yet final completion of results or outputs or achievements made by the projects yet. So this is why I'm using sort of related examples that can help you to understand what we have achieved so far. Next slide, please, Pietro. Next slide. Yeah, it's fine. No, it's fine. That one, thank you. While this slide focuses more about the type of innovations we have in general, we go from really service innovation, innovative use of technology, to inform and influence decision-making centered in citizens empowerment, the co-participation, the service delivery innovation, financial innovation, and territorial governance innovation. So I have listed you some interesting examples of innovative solutions of UIA projects under each type of innovation we have identified. And I will just mention one example because of time. Under the topic of air quality, for example, we have innovative financing models for delivering nature-based solutions for climate resilience, which is led by the City of Manchester in UK. The project is called Ignition. Next slide, please, Pietro. So in this slide, in the map, you will see the UIA's projects location in the different EU and the 14 topics that we have covered by the initiative. 86 projects from 19 member states and the UK. We have covered really topics from the most social one to the greener, such as those related to energy, mobility, creation of jobs, and in the local economy. So most of our projects are now in the middle of the year implementation, while only the 2 first calls are reporting now their first results achieved and the outputs completed. Next slide, please, Pietro. There will be no revolution in the new programming period that we are preparing now. The UIA will be now called EUI, which is European Urban Initiative, and it will keep the same main features of the current initiative, improving them to the next programming period with a strong focus on sustainability, scaling up, and transfer. There will be a closer definition as well of the impacts of and of the targeted urban innovations. The EUI will continue to be the opportunity for the cities to innovate and encourage the creation of local partnership where new capacities can be developed, but there may be a new element transfer mechanism embedded where potential transnational partnerships can be created when a solution is proven to be successful for being transferred. Next slide. Then for the new programming period, together with the European Commission, at the moment we are working on framing the European Urban Initiative on the post-cohesion 2020 policy with 2 main objectives and 1 overall ambition, which is to strengthen the integrated and participatory approach to sustainable urban development by linking the EU policies and addressing the fragmentation and diversity of EU support for EU cities under the cohesion policy. The beneficiaries will remain the EU urban areas. We will have to define strands of activities, innovative actions as strand A, and which will be what we do in UIA at the moment. No, and then we will have the strand B, which will focus rather on capacity building and knowledge exchange. So all this within the EU Green Deal as an overarching strategic framework from 2021 to 2027, with the new thematic structure of cohesion policy with 5 policy objectives again for Europe. Make Europe, first of all, smarter, greener, connected, social, and closer to citizens. Next slide. Following the call for expression of interest in 2021, the region of Hauts-de-France has been selected as interested entity for the EUI. And at the moment, we are really working on contractual matters, setting up the framework and developing the systems and guidances for the new initiative and the applicants and projects, etc. So the first UIA call for proposals will be happening towards the end of the year, this year. And ideally, we should be communicating the topics of the first call end June, beginning July. Well, we are really trying to do our best to keep that timeline. Regarding the next opportunities, that was a question raised by Pietro when he asked me to do this presentation. Which will be the next opportunities in light of the EUI for these two projects, for example, for SPIRE and Airbreak, and for projects under the topics of air quality and sustainable use of land and nature-based solutions. So I have really checked on which could be the potential opportunities for you guys. So then sustainable use of land, nature-based solutions, and air quality are topics relevant to the second objective of the cohesion policy for the 2021-2027 period, where a greener, carbon-free Europe implementing the Paris Agreement and investing in energy transition, renewables, and the fight against climate change is going to be the main focus. So this is an encouraging indication for us for the potential of scaling up and replicability of these UIA projects within these cohesion policy programs. And also this creates some bridges or complementarities between UIA projects we currently have and the other potential financing instruments under cohesion policy, with like the Life Plus experiences, because Life Plus brings as well a specific objective covering this objective 2 of the cohesion policy, due to the convergence of and complementarities of these programs, which is based on testing pilots targeting green transitions. Final words, thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any request, clarification, sort of information, please do not hesitate. I have listed you in the slides examples and ideas, or even titles or names of projects that you could try to reach out if you want to get more inspiration, and as well, or get to be informed about what they do. And if you are willing to prepare and apply for the next first call that we will have under the new instrument EUI, please feel welcome to contact us to the Secretariat through those email addresses. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nelida, for your message, for your insight. And let me say that it's really great added value for all UA projects and cities to be able to count on such great and supportive team as Secretariat, and especially on having you on our side. It's really an added value. And now, so let me give an overview on what will be today's agenda. So as I say, we broke the ice and we had an institutional welcome from Nelida. And now we are going to have the first of the morning will be dedicated to an introduction of the two cities and an overview of the challenges and objectives of each project. And this will be a public session. And in the afternoon, we are going to have two other sessions. The first one will be public as well, while the second will be reserved and to only to the project. The first part of the afternoon will open with three keynote presentations by our distinguished guest. There will be Andy Cundy from the University of Southampton, Luis Francis from Mapping for Change, and last but not least, Enrique Perez from Civic Playgrounds. And after their inspiring keynotes, we will split into three thematic breakout rooms, one on nature-based solutions, one on participatory monitoring, and one on gamification and behavioral change, where we'll have two deep dives into the specific components of each of the two projects. While in the second part of the afternoon, only the members of the project and the keynote speakers will be allowed to stay. And there will be an interactive networking session between the two projects within the same breakout rooms. So now I think it's now time to get to know each other a bit better and to have a roundtable of introduction. So I would invite all the representatives from Airbreak and Inspire projects to turn their cameras on, and to briefly introduce themselves, one person per partner. So please introduce yourself and your organization in 30 seconds. I would say we start from Municipality of Ferrara, then we move to Municipality of Baia Mare, and we go back and forth, one from one project. So I believe it's Alessandro that Balboni introducing.
Good morning.
Ferrara.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Hello?
Hello, yes, we do.
Hello? Yeah.
We hear you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Alessandro Barboni, Councillor for Environmental and European Policies for the Municipality of Ferrara. So today I have the pleasure of introducing you the partnership that composes the Airbreak project, which we call the Alliance for Air. And I have this pleasure because the Municipality of Ferrara is the lead partner of this important and innovative project. So we will have the opportunity to deepen and present it in detail during this day or project. The strategies aimed at reducing air pollution in the city are varied and divided in hard interventions and soft interventions, but the common thread is the high quality and competence of the partners. So in addition of the municipality of Ferrara, the partnership is composed by the two universities, which are University of Ferrara and Polytechnic of Milan, and one public agency, which is CIPRO, the Ferrara Development Agency, two private organizations that are ERA, SPA, and Data Group Public Services. One is a small medium enterprise, which is a Lab Service Analytica, and one research institution, which is Bruno Kessler Foundation. So we think that the successful implementation of the Airbrake project will bring Ferrara a major step towards becoming a smart and sustainable city, contributing as other cities in the Emilia-Romagna region to reduce the air pollution in a highly critical area.
Thank you. Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you for the introduction and also for giving an overview on all the partnership. I would just leave it now to Baia Mare for their introduction. So I think it's Gabriel Triff who will say 2 words.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. So many people joining to this session. I'm representing the municipality of Baia Mare in the SPIRE project. You know, SPIRE, it's about changing some fields, some polluted fields in Baia Mare into good green fields that are meant to be used by the community. We will learn more about this in these activities today. And I'm the technical manager in SPIRE project. Today I'm speaking in behalf of Mr. Dorin Niclăuș, who's the leader of the project here. He's the project leader. And also in behalf of Mariana Popescu, who's my colleague, but she doesn't have a microphone today. So later on today, maybe the vice mayor will also join us, maybe in 15-20 minutes. I just spoke to him, so I just want to say hello to everybody, and I'm looking forward to the activities today.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. So I think we can move to the University of Ferrara, to the Polytechnic of Milan. I think that I see for sure Polytechnic of Milan. So Eugenio and Farah, if you want to introduce your team.
Hi Pietro, hi everyone. This is Eugenio from Politecnico di Milano. I am part of the Department of Architecture and Urban Studies and Urban Simulation Laboratory here at Polymi, and I'm working mostly on sustainable urban planning and design with a specific focus on climate change adaptation and environmental quality, and all the co-creation and governance issues related to those topics. And with me, Dr. Farah Maki. Maybe you want to introduce.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's also great to find a lot of people around this table. So yes, I'm in the team of Eugenio, and I'm a research fellow in the lab. So I joined the laboratory for supporting the Airbrake project, and I mainly focus on design facilitation for participatory processes. So I'm dealing with all the co-creation aspects that are brought into the project to support environmental sustainability. So we've been through the Airbrake, working on different levels, from how to process the complexity of a challenge such as air quality to the culture of the city and to the different layers of the society. So engaging different actors and their different citizenship roles. And to highlight what also Alessandro Balboni, Assessori, has been saying, to build an alliance for the air and also to mainstream the topic across new special mediums that we are using and events. We will be seeing some in the at a later stage the presentation of the center that we have installed at this purpose, and the events that we were also holding to mainstream that, and of course the co-design of solutions that are brought into the project.
And indeed, thank you very much, Farah. And she didn't tell you, but I will tell you, she's such an expert in facilitation that she will also help me facilitating one of the 3 breakout rooms, especially that one on participatory monitoring. So thank you very much, Farah, also for getting on board and helping me in this challenge. And now we will move back to Baia Mare with Urba Sofia. So Codruț, please, can you introduce yourself? And
of course, my name is Codruț Papina. I represent Urba Sofia. We are an urban planning company based in Bucharest. And within SPIRE project, we mainly deal with co-design and co-creation for the transformation of the 5 pilot sites, which I will present later in the virtual site visit. And we also will engage with local stakeholders together with the Metropolitan Agency to develop a strategy upscaling of the SPIRE experiment at a bigger scale. So basically that's it with our purpose in the project. It's nice meeting you all and looking forward for the following presentations.
Thank you very much, Codruț. And he will also be facilitating one of the 3 breakout rooms, significantly precisely that one on nature-based solutions. So you will see also Codruț in one of the 3 breakout rooms. And now let's go back to Ferrara. I don't know if there is someone from the University of Ferrara. If not, I will give the floor to Cipro.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Isabella.
Yes, hello, everyone, and thank you for this very beautiful organization. I'm Serena Liso from University of Ferrara. I'm a postdoc at the Department of Physics and Environmental Sciences. My supervisor is Professoressa Cherubini, and we give our contribution for reducing the air pollution in Ferrara municipality using a nature-based solution that we will explain well in the afternoon session. And we are studying the best content of water within the soil in order to allow trees to grow up faster and in a good status. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Serena. And now let's move back to Baia Mare with Ares Transylvania. I believe it's going to be Andra to introduce.
Yes, hello everybody, bună dimineața, ciao a tutti, buenos dias, and so on. Very nice to have this jumping back and forward. My name is Andra Tănase. I represent here Ares Transylvania. In this project, we mainly have responsibilities regarding communication, but as an IT cluster and a digital innovation hub, we are very much welcoming and trying to contribute to this project, not only through the communication activities, but also working together with the different stakeholders in creating a momentum and a connection for a really concerted effort in the direction of nature-based solution and complex ecosystemic interventions. In our organization and in our digital innovation hub, of course, we support the member companies and in their participation more and more and collaboration with municipalities. So this is also something that we do within this project. And through the expertise from other projects on circular economy, we also try to contribute to business modeling and other ideas around the awareness raising and citizen participation. We will hear more, I think, in the workshop. So very nice to be here and to put together faces next to organization names that we have seen in the past years.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Andra. And now we go back again to Ferrara, to ERA, SPA, and then the group. Please, floor is yours. I think there is Patrizia. Yeah, I see her.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Patrizia Mangifast, and I represent ERA SPA. ERA is a big utility in Italy, and we care about energy, water, and waste collection. I have a role as a project manager, and I care about innovative project about smart cities. In air break, we will give our contributors in the issue related to the air quality data analysis, in the issue related to the to promote soft mobility, and find the solution to mitigate the air pollution.
Pietro, we cannot hear you.
You're mute. Sorry, beginner's mistake. I was saying Pier Giorgio. Thank you very much, Patrizia. And Pier Giorgio, if you want to introduce yourself and
okay, thanks, Pietro. My name is Pier Giorgio Cipriano from Data Group Public Services. Data Group Public Services is a large ICT company. We are located in different cities in Italy. And we focus on software implementation and data collection, integration analysis. In Airbrake, Data Group is responsible for the coordination of a specific work package dealing with the implementation of an air quality data infrastructure. That means the integration of data about air quality, but not only about air quality, coming from different sources, both from authoritative sources like the regional protection and environmental agencies from not only Emilia-Romagna, but also from other surrounding regions like Veneto and Lombardy, as well as data coming from citizens. Indeed, part of the work that we are working on together with the Politecnico di Milano in particular, but also with other partners, is the involvement of students of secondary schools and citizens in the build-up of low-cost sensors and that will be installed in the upcoming months in order to increase the number of points for measuring the air quality in Ferrara. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Pier Giorgio. And now again to Baia Mare for USMV Cluj-Napoca, the university. Please, Hancco.
Yes, hello to everyone. We are from University of Agricultural Sciences and Veterinary Medicine from Cluj-Napoca. We are a team with different competence, from delivering scientific studies concerning heavy metal pollution, soil plant pollution, sampling soil and plants and analyze it in field and in laboratory. We also have expertise in identify the plant species correctly. And took into the consideration also the wildlife importance and harmless animals that might be associated with that given plant species. And yes, we are, like I said, we are from Faculty of Agriculture and different expertises. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hancco. And now back in Ferrara with Lab Service Analytica. I think Alessandro is here.
Alessandro, this is me from Lab Service. Just a few words on who we are. We are a SME company with more than 35 years of experience in life chemistry, separation science, and environmental sector. We are involved in the Airbrake project for the implementation of a new smart air quality a new smart air quality monitoring network in this sense. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. And then in Decosoft from Baia Mare with Sorin Pop. Please, Sorin.
Hello, everybody. We are a software developing company which mostly works with public administrations on e-administration and e-governance solutions. For the SPIRE project, we are working on two main directions. One of them is the ILEO, which is a local currency for the city of Baia Mare. And the second is the IGIS, where we are trying to map the evolution of the land sites where phytoremediation processes occur.
Thank you very much, Sorin. And now, last but not least, from Ferrara, the Bruno Kessler Foundation, I believe Antonio will introduce them.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Antonio Bucchiarone from Fondazione Bruno Kessler. Today I am representing the Digital Society Center of FBK, and in particular I'm a researcher of the Motivational Digital System Research Unit, where Anna Paola Marconi is the leader of the unit. So in the airbag projects, we bring the experience on how to use gamified solution for behavioral changes. And in particular, we are the responsible of the specification and implementation of the various sustainable mobility campaigns that we have implemented and now are running in Ferrara, with the goal to reach and engage a citizen, to promote in some way their voluntary change towards a more sustainable habits. We have the goal to contribute to the creation of community of active users in this context, and of course to produce measurable outcomes in terms of impact, in terms of engagements and awareness of behavioral change. So we will give details on these 4 campaigns in the afternoon, where I will present the solution and what we are doing in their back projects. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Antonio. And now back for 2 more partners in Baia Mare. First, the Green Energy Association, and then the Baia Mare Metropolitan Area. So Green Energy Association, Gea, please, if you want to say 2 words to introduce yourself. I saw Enrico.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mátyus Enikő. I'm working for the Green Energy Biomass Cluster, located in Romania, with an activity of more of 10 years, trying to develop the value chain of the biomass, and also working on sustainable communities. Within this project, we are trying to attract the talent community with good ideas in order to valorize the biomass resulted from the project activity, phytoremediation, and also to implement this small-scaled biomass-based heating systems in Baia Mare. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Nico. And now I would say,
Sorry, Pietro, can I suppose that we missed the CPRO from Ferrara, but I can present at the end.
Yes, you can introduce yourself right now. And
Anna, yes, I'm Anna Alessio. Can I?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes. I'm Anna Alessio from CPRO, which is the development agency of Ferrara and its territory. And in the Airbag project, we are responsible for the clean commuting and integrated urban planning activities. And the objectives are the analysis of the commuting patterns in the urban area, and then the development and the test of clean commuting solutions based on the previous analysis that we had in this last year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. And now, last but not least, from the Baia Mare Metropolitan Area, Ananta Fabian.
Hi everyone. My name is Ananta Ardelean. I represent the Baia Mare Metropolitan Area Association. We have the headquarters in Baia Mare, but we are formed as an association of 17 territorial administrative units, 17 city halls. This is great for us that we can make the master plan in the SPIRE project, containing steps and results achieved through the project, and hopefully we can replicate them at the larger scale at the metropolitan area, and why not a national level area. For this, we will hold a number of 3 workshops later in this year. We will invite stakeholders, local stakeholders, national, regional stakeholders, and of course the members of our association, 17 city halls. We will try to identify other sites that are polluted the same as we have them in Baia Mare, with the same type of polluter or other pollution, and try to replicate the results of the project.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ananta, and thank you very much, everyone. It's very pleasant and fantastic to actually be able to see everyone, all the members of all the partners, and it's nice to introduce each other. And now we're about to have a virtual site visit to Ferrara and Baia Mare. Unfortunately, we cannot be there and take a walk in our beautiful project cities, but we can do our best with the digital technologies. But before doing that, I want to run another quiz and see how much we actually know about the two cities and the two projects. So we can now start the quiz, and I will launch it. So please answer your questions. Can you see the survey, the quiz?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't go on Google to check the numbers.
I saw the quiz, Pietro, and I submitted it. So I see that somebody are able to do it and some
not.
Some not.
Fortunately. Oh yes, I'm afraid, because if you're connected from the web, I'm afraid it's not possible, or if you're using an old version of Zoom. So I think it's just a matter of the technology. So let's say we have 20 more seconds and then we end the poll. We have 21 participants that replied. So here the last 5 seconds to add your your answers, and let's see the results of the poll. So we have, can you see the results?
Yes,
good.
we can.
So we have only 36% guessed, 8 participants guessed the right population in Ferrara, which is 132,032 inhabitants. We have 67%, so 14 out of 21 guessed the right population in Baia Mare, 137,334. And the correct answer for what are the main polluting sources in Ferrara was gas emissions, and the 82% of you guessed it right. Thank you very much, well done. As well as for 81% guessed correctly that heavy metals are the main source of pollutant in Baia Mare. Then the correct answers are for the first question. To the first question, air brake will reduce air pollution by 25%, and I see that 68% of you guessed it correctly. SPIRE Baia Mare will reclaim more than 7 hectares inland, and everyone guessed this correctly. Everyone also guessed that Baia Mare citizens will be rewarded with digital tokens, and that Ferrara citizens will participate in air quality measures. So congratulations, you all are quite aware and acquainted with the project. So thank you very much for playing to these little games, and now it's time to virtually travel, and let's fly to Ferrara for the first site visit. So please, I will stop sharing my screen and leave the floor to you for your site visit. Ferrara, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Pietro. I'll try to make this site visit. I prepared a slideshow as a video. I hope it works. If it's, let's say, if it's blurred or uninterrupted, I can move to a slideshow. But let's try for now. So you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So let's start. I will use these slides just to introduce a project, Air Brake, which started in July 2020. So we are half the way. This is the big partnership we have. And I start with a video just presenting the beauty of Ferrara. As we said, it's a town in the Po Valley, close to the Po, historical town, which has a very high actually quality of life. And it's also well known to be also a cycling city, actually the city in Italy that use bikes as the most. And it's also a university city with a very large historical center with a lot of pedestrian areas. And as you can see from the images, it also has a quite rich green spots in town. So this is just to give you a sense about the quality and the beauty of this place, which is also characterized by the walls, as you see here from the images. So I will give you just a short introduction. So beside this beauty of the town of Ferrara, we said it's also located, if we zoom out, in the Po Valley, which is has some issues related to air quality. We recorded just from Copernicus exactly 1 year ago, the images referred to on the 9th of February of last year, the pollutants PM distribution. And this is generated from the situation we have, the geomorphological situation given by the Alps that basically stop the ventilation in the Po Valley. So the aim of our project is to contribute to improve air quality and reducing in certain specific spots the pollution by 25%. How we do that? We try to integrate, to create a complex system to tackle this issue. And we show here a number of solutions that we put in place, distribute in the city, a number of actions that try to address the main axis of entrance in the city of Ferrara, and how we can really make sure that people get involved in these different ways. So we are trying to also create this air alliance, as Alessandro Balboni was saying, and we act in different ways. We disseminate sensors to citizens, and in particular, we work with schools so that they can adopt sensors. We also distribute a monitoring network in town. This is already in place, as you can see from the images, and this creates a sort of parallel network that will be top-down, let's say, collecting data, but also get the input from co-monitoring by citizens. For instance, we work on air quality in a very multisensory way, not only air quality indicators, but also, as you can see, smell. Of course, we have to work a lot on how to communicate and engage citizens, also from the point of view of data communication. So that's we created an activity dedicated to air quality data communication on the web, as you can see from these slides. So how to to engage people in an immediate way, on totems, on the bike lanes, but also on the walls in the city, how to get these messages closer to people. Of course, then we have also other types of actions that are tangible actions, construction work like the smart bike lane, which implements a lot of innovative technologies in a central pathway in the city. And this will have materials and sensors that will be also monitored over time. Then we also implement number of smart hubs, 4 in particular, that are distributed in relevant biking nodes in the city. They will incorporate a number of facilities and services, from air quality monitoring to electric vehicle, bike and other sustainable means of transport chargers, and other services that are different depending on the location. And this is also a result of co-creation. And then, since the topic today is also nature-based solutions, also afforestation projects are relevant. 2,000 new trees will be displaced in town, and this is just a starting. And we will also make use of innovative technologies to improve water saving, and also improve irrigation. Then we have biofix aggregates that will be distributed during waste collection to, let's say, capture heavy particles from the air, and this will be run by the waste utility Hera. And then we also launched a number of sustainable campaigns to raise awareness, behavior change, building community, and have measurable outcomes as well. And these sustainable campaigns target different people, for instance, workers, companies, bike to work, for instance, campaigns. We also have involved schools in other campaigns like Play and Go. And we also try to engage citizens and all the community through gamification and having kind of different approaches. Of course, Kids Go Green, it's another campaign with involving primary and secondary school students, and launching in the fall of 2022 also the high school challenge that will try to create competition among different high school classes. Of course, we are creating a number of rich data sets. We are looking at mobility patterns and how commuters really reach Ferrara, origin and destinations, tourists, different type of users. So we are collecting a lot of infrastructure, but the main challenge and innovation is how to integrate all this system to create a sort of air monitoring community that also will implement advocacy in the future. So we really stress the dimension of citizen engagement. Of course, we had to the big challenge of the pandemic, so we had to work mostly remotely for the first year. So we used a lot of participation techniques. But as you can see from the pictures, also we organized a number of events. So we organized them online, which was like we had to really redirect some of the tasks of the first year and move online. But the digital board also allowed a big involvement of different actors, so in a synchronous and asynchronous participation way. And also this collective intelligence was used to create a big event that we organized in presence, 100% in presence, in the fall of 2021, which was the Air Festival, Festa dell'Aria. And this was the result really of a big involvement of different players and actors in the municipality of Ferrara. So this really consolidated our, let's say, community sense of community and alliance in the city. Let's see if the video goes on. Okay, I just want to show you some pictures of like the Air Fest. and because this event enabled us to go back in presence, and together with this Air Fest that we organized in October, that also involved, as I said, different typologies of events, from social nights, events, workshops, seminars, even contests and workshops with students and different targets. And we also finally inaugurated the Air Quality Hub in town, which is a physical place at Laboratorio Aperto, highly visible in the city with an exhibition, but it's also going to be a physical and digital hub, what we call phygital, so that we gonna still try to use it as a gate to a lot of information that we are collecting. We also installed a 3D model of the city which is augmented by data that are collected. The challenge now is also to try to measure the impact of air brake actions to make that visible to all citizens and people that are around our community. So we try now to stress this involvement and citizen engagement in the next co-creation activities for 2022. And if you want to know more, you can see, you can have a look to our website, airbrakeferrara.net, where you have most of the information. So I didn't mention all the works that have been carried out by a multiplicity of partners, but of course, if you want to know more information, I'm available to give you that information. So this was my short site visit. Pietro, we cannot hear you.
Thank you, Eugenio. Thank you very much. This was really a nice and comprehensive overview of the air brake project and of Ferrara. So we're really glad that you did this very nice video. And now it is time to move virtually, to fly very fast to Romania and to Baia Mare. And I will leave the floor to Codruț Papivena to introduce the city of Baia Mare. So Codruț, please, the floor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I will, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I will be really brief about the pilot size location in Baia Mare. But first of all, where is Baia Mare? Baia Mare is located in the northwestern part of Romania. For a long time, Baia Mare was considered the mining capital of the country. So the past industrial mining and metallurgical activity was an important thing for the identity of the city and of the region. Baia Mare is also the urban center of the metropolitan area with the same name, composed of 18 settlements, many of which struggle with the same environmental, ecological, and post-industrial rehabilitation that Baia Mare is facing. So we can say that the experiment we are trying to conduct in Baia Mare can benefit the entire metropolitan region and maybe some other parts in Mare County or besides the borders of the country. So we have here a general landscape of the city. It's a beautiful city with a really nice historical center. It's located at the footpath of the mountains of the hills, actually. So the phenomenon that my previous speaker was telling about the Alps and the wind currents, it's also happening here, but at a smaller scale. So the wind and the pollution generated in the past industrial activity could not pass this barrier of hills and just settled around Baia Mare city. So the pollution got sucked into the soil and vegetation. Yeah, it's a really nice city if you have ever have the chance to visit. But within this beautiful city, some former elements and landscape of the former industrial activity can also, it's always present. For example, this Cuprum Tower is the tallest tower in Eastern Europe of its type. It can be observed from anywhere around the city. And this type of landscape of heavily contaminated land is something that is present not only in Baia Mare area, but also in Mare County. So it's a situation that solutions has to be found, sustainable, economic, physical, and environmental solutions. Going back to Baia Mare city, we have 5 pilot sites located in the peripheral part of the city, in strong connection with the blue-green corridor. So we have Firiza River, we have Sasa River, and Craica River, which is a small creek in the southern part. The first site is Romplumb. Together, all the sites have a total of 7 hectares. So Romplumb is 1 hectare and 25,000 meters land, located near a former industrial site. It's in the northern part. It's at the border where you outside of the city almost. It's not very transited, but has some qualities, especially for phytoremediation biomass production. And I'll show you a short video. The site starts here where the cars are and goes where the houses start. We have a deep slope here towards the river, but we still have a pretty flat surface of land which we can plant. So this is before and after interventions. The preparation work on the sites was not so difficult as other sites. For example, we have Ferneziu, which is located near nearby school, Nicolae Bălcescu. It's a strip of land going from the school towards the south of the site. And as you can see, the site here before intervention was full of invasive vegetation, debris, and concrete under the first layer of soil. So preparation work was really something difficult and a major challenge. This is before and this is after. The site was cleaned pretty well, and we hope that invasive vegetation will not resurface. More about planting, my colleague in the deep dive, my colleague Anga Plesha and Ana Maria will talk about. The third one is Colonia Topitorilor, which is a really valuable site from the point of view of users, being a site in a more central neighborhood of Baia Mare. It can be transformed in a really valuable ecologic public space for the occasional use of the local residents. It has very valuable existing vegetation that we want to keep, but yet again, we faced invasive vegetation and various debris. Then we have before and after. Here are some images from a workshop we had with local students. Purbis, the fourth site. It's in a more central part of the city, but it's not so easy accessible. We have one entry point here near the bridge and another entry point here near this bus depot. So yet again, the situation here was really difficult concerning invasive vegetation. As you can see, it's covered in invasive vegetation called Urișca, which in Romanian is called Urișca. I don't know the Latin name, but maybe Anca can help me with that.
Nutria japonica.
Nutria japonica, thank you. So just to show you a representative picture, it was so full of this plant that you could not enter at first, but now it's cleaned and is prepared for solids to grow.
Hey, but uite, unde-s banii, Iona?
Then the final site, Craica. It's in the southern part of the city. It's bounded by a railway line, a former railway line, which does not work at the moment, and a small creek. It has some really interesting natural ambience and landscape. The site starts here where there is this telegraph pole and goes until the road. It's not really visible from the drone, but the morphology of terrain has a series of slopes that creates a really nice landscape when you are there inside. Some pictures before and after land preparation. Here, the main challenge was debris, a lot of debris that has to be cleaned. And finally, here is the SPIRE Hub and Makerspace, which is now operational. We had to rehabilitate an historic building, which is this one, the green one. And I can show you some pictures with the ground floor, the first floor, where is located the SPIRE Hub. And upstairs, and downstairs we have a makerspace, 3D printers, laser cutting machines. I can show you some video really short. All kinds of equipment for local communities to use and for startups. That is a component of the project. You will find more about that in the project page. So that's it from me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kudrot. And it was also a very nice overview in the of the city of Baia Mare. And I see that the vice mayor of Baia Mare just joined, Mr. Papzold. So if you want to say a few welcome words, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. You can hear me?
We can see and hear you very well.
Okay. I greet you all. I'm very glad to share this moment with all of you. Unfortunately, I have scheduled another meeting, so I will be short with my intervention. As everybody knows, the city of Baia Mare becomes one of the most innovative European cities with the launch of this SPIRE project. We are proud to be one of the pioneers, and because we have the courage to start the decontamination for soils polluted with heavy metals using nature-based solution. As everybody knows, like anything new and innovative, we face challenges and unknowns, but thanks to our teams and of course with the support of our partners, and thank you again for all the supports, we managed to complete this challenge. I want to assure that everyone who is involved in this project that the project have the full support of the local administration. So I think that let's move on and let's make a successful project with SPIRE. Thanks. If you have any question regarding the support of our administration, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zolt. We are definitely sure of the great support of the municipality of Baia Mare leading this urban innovative actions project. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Great job.
We have the possibility to have a quick coffee break, so we can just take a small break and reconvene here at 11:30 or 12:30 for Romanian time with the project pages. So thank you very much for this first very interesting introductory round, and I will see you in a few minutes. So enjoy your coffee.
The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I kindly ask everyone except Alessandro to mute themselves, of course. And now it's the time to go a bit deeper into the projects, to have a general overview of what Airbreak and SPIRE are doing, what are their city challenges, what are their objectives, and what are the solutions that they propose with these urban innovative actions to solve their main challenges. So it is my pleasure now to give the floor to Alessandro Balboni, who's the Councillor for Environment in the municipality of Ferrara. Sorry, Alessandro, I shortened a bit your title, but now the floor is yours, and you can give your project pitch for.
All right, thank you very much, Pietro. Can you see the pitch, the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, very nice. Thank you very much. So I want to show an overview of our project Airbreak and deepen some details that make this project really innovative and bottom up in his side of view, the solutions for the air pollutants that are a big problem in our city. So doesn't move. Okay, right. So the project started in the summer of 2020, and it's going to end in the first month of summer in 2023. It's a total contribution from the program UIA of 5 million euros, financed for the 80%, and the partnership that we already presented before is composed by both public agencies or universities and private organizations or enterprises. And the challenge is to improve the air quality in our city and to fight in an active way the pollutants in Ferrara. And so we want to reduce by 25% the amount of pollutants in the air, and we want to do that in mostly two ways. One is with infrastructural interventions, and another one is with the soft measures. So we have decided to candidate a program focused on the air quality because we have high cancer mortality in our city and many health issues. So we have to act now and fast to improve the environmental quality of Ferrara. So we have to face some problems and some difficulties in our city that are fragmented urbanization and the lack of adequate mobility infrastructure, the low back lanes per surface ratio, even if Ferrara is the city with the most, the highest number of citizens that use bicycles every day in Italy, and so this is maybe a problem because we still have a high motorization rate in Ferrara. So this is also a nonsense. This is a render of what we want to obtain, and is the improvement of many spots in the town, and we call those healthy community spots. And so you can see that here we have an idea to transform those complicated places in our town in more friendly for the citizens and tourists places that have a better climate and environmental situation. So we plan to make an enzymatic treatment on the streets that can capture and keep on the floor many kind of pollutants. Install smart shelters to improve and make more interesting for people to use smart mobility solutions. And at the same time, we are going to plant trees that have a good capacity of absorbing pollutants and air pollutants. At the same time, we want to put down bicycle lanes built in a smart way, consisting in both the materials that are composed of and the sensor and the activity, the smart activity that are involved. So we want to reach this aim with a bottom-up approach, and we think that AirBreak isn't a project that proposes a revolutionary idea or breaking the situation idea, but it is about implementing and make a web among our partners to improve and to make a system of all the single small ideas that can improve our environment. So we are going to provide better depth knowledge about the air pollution distribution in Ferrara, developing a sensor network and a new data infrastructure for rapid data access. And this will also be useful not just for the citizens to know better the city and the air situation, the air quality situation, but also for the administration to plan specific intervention and have a general overview. We are still providing innovative models to incentivize clean community and soft mobility, this to lower the emissions. So we will depth this point later. Sorry, I have some problem with the slide, sorry. Okay. And yet engaging citizens and stakeholders in a co-creation approach. It is already been quoted Ferrara, the event that let us meet and talk with the stakeholders, the local stakeholders, and it's been a success with more than 300 people called and engaged in a COVID situation. So we have been really proud of this. And so those are some numbers. We are going to make use of 14 sensors to monitor the air quality. And in the monitoring phase, there are going to be 500 citizens involved. And we want to reduce the 10% of air pollutants in relation with commuting analysis, and the 20% above the PM10. It is a particular kind of particles that are really dangerous for our health. And yet we planned to plant a large amount of species of trees that are really useful at absorbing air pollutants, and we estimated the 40,000 kilos are going to be absorbed each year. So right now we already implemented the engagement of the citizens and the stakeholders, as said before, and started the air quality monitoring network. And we are planting nowadays the 2,000 feet of absorbing plants, and we are projecting and going to realize in a few months the smart cycle lane and the smart hubs. Smart hubs intended to improve the sustainable mobility of the city. We had a meeting in our living lab in Ferrara, in X Theater. So we had the Airbrake Alliance Charter, and we started this alliance engaging the citizens, but also the associations and other stakeholders in our territory. So we started focusing the theme of air quality, and also co-designing the smart hubs. And those air days have been really useful also to find an occasion to see each other in presence, and not only behind a webcam after the COVID restrictions. And so we started to use this place to start programming and growing bottom-up decisions with our stakeholders. And those are some photos of the Airfest that you can see here. Young students of the high schools helping us building the sensors. So a first-person approach. And yet on the other photo, you can see the planning of the activities that we are going to implement in our city, Ferrara. And yet you can see the monitoring network, the IoT network of sensors. So it's quite complicated. You can see we have the sensors on our territory, and we have a server that is makes integrated layers and uses simulation tools to understand deeply how is the air quality situation. And so we have a system to show in the proper way those results, and so we can share those results on city dashboards and the smartphone of citizens, and also on the municipal website. So so you can see here an example about the air data quality. We have enough sensor to give a hour by hour photograph of the air quality, and so this is really accurate and probably one of the most focused and efficient way of air quality monitoring in Italy and maybe in Europe. So you can see a monitoring station that is being placed in near a school, and we choose to put the stations near the schools, not just because to engage and give the student the opportunity to collaborate in our project, but also because we wanted to check and control the air quality near a point of interest, a sensitive point, because of the health issues that we mentioned before. Here you can find the area where we are going to plant the phyto-absorbing plants. We choose to plant the species that are from our territory and that are not from other countries or from other places in the world, and we choose that because we take care also of the ecological point of view of the project. So it's not just in a utilitaristic way to use our trees, but we want to take care also of the local nature and not impact on it, importing places that plants that are not Italian or from a territory. So we choose some places in the city that are characterized by a high level of pollutants in the air. So in the north part, it's an industrial site. Yet on the east and the south part, it's really concentrated areas with a lot of inhabitants, and yet a lot of streets and cars moving from Ferrara to the city of Bologna. And so we want to try to attenuate these problems by planting those trees. Other investments you can see here. Those are the smart cycle lanes in our city to connect the city center and the environment of the external part of Ferrara, and you can find here signed in blue the smart cycle lane that we are going to end before this summer. And it's not just a cycle lane, but it is built with specific materials and recycled components. So we want to connect the city center with Technopolo, which is a part of your university where the students can where the students can meet and study in the south part of the city. And this is a place that is not really very well connected, so the students at the moment prefer to come by cars or bicycles, but yet if they use bicycle, it is a problem, because it is not just a polluted area, but as also very crowded with cars and others transport methods. And we are going to the end of the presentation. You can see here the smart hub So this is going to be a place with energy provided by glass panels, photovoltaic glass panels on the roof. And we want to place those in strategic points of the city, just to make the citizens and students easier to move in and out from Ferrara. So we want to put them close to rail station and also to the most inhabited neighborhoods of the city. So we want to make the citizens of Ferrara feel more safe and comfortable with the use of their bicycle. And because of this, we provided also charging boxes for the soft mobility and also, I think, electric bicycles. And the station is, the Smart Hub is going to hold also surveillance cameras and a pack station and a technical box for the first time repairs for accidents or bicycle problems. So in in the current year, we are going to improve and the data analysis and smart application. It is a work package held by FBK, and we are going to this is the last year of the project, so we are going also to start thinking about how to keep this progress, this process in progress for the years, and that's all. I hope the presentation has been clear enough. If you have any question on, or you want to go in depth for any aspect of the project, we are at your disposition. So here is my email, and for any question, I'm here. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. It was indeed super clear, and thanks for stopping the sharing. It was really super clear and provided a very good overview on all the objectives and challenges for Air Brake Ferrara. Thank you very much for this. And now we move back to Baia Mare for an overview on SPIRE, which will be delivered by Andrea Tonale. So Andrea, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody, and great to have this opportunity to share. I hope that soon we will go to full screen. So now everything should be fine. And what I wanted to say is that it was really nice to have the pitch from Alessandro, and to already incited some curiosities as to how much awareness raising that was created through the sensors actually impact reducing pollution and improving air quality, because it's something that can be a very interesting connection topic. But back to the pitch. The pitch is not a comprehensive presentation of what we are doing. There will be more in-depth workshops together with many of the colleagues and partners in the project that you can see here, the logos of the organizations, but also more importantly, you will be able to hear the different perspectives on this project. So SPIRE Baia Mare is also a multi-stakeholder partnership, the same as Air Brake, having public and private and civil society stakeholders being involved. And this is one of the main contributors to one of the key aspects of the project, which I would say is its complexity. SPIRE comes from Smart Post-Industrial Regenerative Ecosystem, already many big words, and this is also the task at hand. And basically what the ambitions of the project is to
Andrea,
yeah,
one thing, your screen is not moving. We're still at the very first page of the slideshow.
Okay.
Sorry.
So now?
We see the second slide still.
Okay. Second slide, right?
Not full screen, but we can see it.
Okay. It is strange, but yeah. So you don't see full screen. Okay.
No, I can back you up if you would need.
Let's see if can you see now first slide?
No.
No. Okay. So it's probably I will have to do similarly like Alessandro presenting like this, if that's okay.
Okay.
So basically what I wanted to say here is that that the project aims to take us from what we see on the left and what were also some of the images presented by Codruz earlier to what you see on the right here. Basically a dare that is taken up by Baia Mare municipality to start decontamination procedures for heavy metal polluted soils using nature-based solutions. So the 8 hectares that already you saw and were presented in the virtual site visit are transformed into living labs that engage various actors from Baia Mare in various types of actions. Planting, innovative tools, entrepreneurial activities, awareness raising activities. If we go forward and we see at a glance, we already heard that Baia Mare is in the northern part of Romania in Maramureș. Well, the population, you will see different numbers, but one key point is that it's is decreasing. So if numbers were in 140,000 now, they are lower, and there is quite a high also migration rate, and this is also important in the city dynamics. The key topics that are addressed by the project is, as we mentioned again and again, mitigating the heavy metal pollution that exists in the soil, because the region was a mining area, and not only the city, but the entire area had a lot of mine. We are working towards having the innovative tools for testing and phytoremediation, and here the challenge is to already start and see in the timeline of the project things that will happen probably in the many years ahead. Co-designing process of transforming pilot sites, because it's not only about extracting the contaminated chemicals from the soil, but it is actually also about regaining and reintegrating in the community life these pilot sites. And this means that pollution is not the only issue, but also accessibility and public space use is also a challenge. The technology focus comes in through digital tools for monitoring the sites, for recording the progress, and also for rewarding good environmental behavior. Very important for us here in this presentation is upscaling potential. That means how we can translate this experience, which is unique. And Nelida was saying that we should be proud that is one of the selected cities, and we are proud. Upscaling it to other areas, to other cities, not only in Romania, but also in other parts of the world. And this is why it's very important and interesting for us to hear all the conversations that will be generated today. The challenges and the action lines basically are this, and phytoremediation, participatory planning, and the entrepreneurship program, so engaging businesses and local businesses in the green behavior, and also using some of the very intriguing tools like ILEO, and you'll hear more about ILEO in the city ecosystem, are some of the action lines that are happening. And to the right, you see some of the pictures of this puzzle. And basically, indeed, this project is a puzzle that brings together technology solutions, scientific analysis, citizen engagement, and business and entrepreneurship program in a coherent program. If these are the lines and the activities that are included in the project, we wanted also to share with you that very important for SPIRE is the working objectives, the internal objectives of the partnership. And this will contribute to its sustainability. So if we started by raising awareness, creating these ecosystems, and positioning the Baia Mare and Baia Mare municipality together with the partners as engines of work and engagement in these topics. The other objectives are to create the leadership and the sustained leadership for the project throughout the project, but also after, and to transfer the results and dissemination. And these objectives are as important as the thematic objectives, because if you want, they create the mechanisms through which the project logic works. In one wonderful picture, this is these are the stages of the SPIRE implementation, and we can see that the first stage is basically creating the benchmarking, creating the baselines, designing and starting up the tools, digital tools, the space, the SPIRE hub, the networks at the local level. And then we move to stage 2, where these are already becoming functional and start to create results and to activate the green behavior of the community. And the desire in stage 3 and further is to have everything integrated in a metropolitan master plan, and also to transfer this systemic plan to other regions. In a few numbers, 7 hectares of pilot sites are included. We aim to have 250 youth beneficiaries who are participating in the different workshops. We want to have over 3,000 citizens involved to activate and follow at least three bio-based startups, to have 10 citizen-led eco-initiatives, and the budget is, you can see there, 2,600,000, a bit over that euros. Now, a few pictures that take you a bit more concrete into what is actually happening. And you have seen these are the sites, and the sites are located in the industrial part of Baia Mare, as it was mentioned, but also come towards the center of the city. And this IGIS platform is the technical tool that is used for education, gamification, and measuring of the project indicators. You will be hearing more from Sorin on the technical parts of IGIS, because they are experts in combining all these tools and using artificial intelligence to follow the various changes that we want to see in the project. Another aspect, so this is the platform, another aspect that you can see here is basically the transformation of the sites that you saw earlier, the transformation process that the sites are going through. So if we had those sites at the beginning and you saw from Codruț the before picture, then the first image up there, you can see an actual result of one of the participatory workshops where in collaboration with the citizens and with the youth, the sites were designed and transformed. So we gathered ideas on how they, what aspects they can be improved of, and then together with the specialists, with urban planners, with the scientists that recommended the plans, these were transformed into plans for the different sites. And you can see to the right and down what we actually are aiming to achieve in the different locations. Moving on, these are some pictures from various activities that engage citizens. This was really challenging because obviously we were going up and down with restrictions due to the COVID situation, but we managed to have plantathlon events, so events where the community was invited to take part into planting on the designated site, on part of the designated sites, and together with the planting workshops on educational workshops on the value and the mechanisms of phytoremediation were delivered by our colleagues from the University of Medicine and Veterinary Science. So these workshops we hope to continue, and we also aim at having not only planting events but also harvesting events. And very important for these events are the elements of safety, and not only in terms of COVID but also in terms of educating the citizens as to what are the effects of the what are the possible effects and protective mechanisms when you plant and when you harvest in contaminated lands. In December, we had also a campaign of collecting the Christmas tree, and here the picture, you can see the collection of the Christmas trees, which were then transformed into biomass. Another important action line is the SPIRE hub and the makerspace. Basically, this happens in a central location in Baia Mare, which is owned by the municipality and is transformed into a space in which citizens, businesses can come and have various activities, workshops, trainings, but also it's a maker space that has been furnished with different types of equipment, 3D printers and others. Very few more items, but very important, and something that excites very much, especially the local community. And Sorin will tell you more about it is the immaterial local environmental utility, ILEU, and this is a local digital token system which rewards civic environmental behavior. So there is an app you can download, citizens can download, and then based on how they walk or use green transport from their home to their workplace, they gain these ILEs, which can be used in a variety of ways. I will not tell you more now because for sure Sorin explains better than me. Possiamo mangiare, ma ancora un po'. So I was saying that here for ILEU, Sorin will tell you much more, and something that definitely resulted from the workshops around ILEU is the high interest of the local community and local businesses into creating this as something that is a reason of local character and local pride, but pride in a very, very good sense. So very interesting part of our puzzle. Last picture here is the SPIRE startups, and here the idea was to activate entrepreneurs, local, regional, but also from other parts to create innovative ideas and business plans, revolutionary business ideas to transform the biomass resulted from the decontaminated lands into new products. And the picture is actually from the pitching sessions where the number of participants were basically describing their ideas, and here bioleaching, creating liquid biofertilizers on a big scale was one of the ideas, but you can see the names of the other activities. You have heard about from our Vice Mayor of Baia Mare, the support of Baia Mare, and basically from real and heavy, not metals, but also problems, SPIRE transformed into the community to a community which is awarded for the initiative and for being green. This is already a big step. Of course, it would be an even bigger step if we sustain and if we link these initiatives to others and create partnerships for the future. So stay connected. This is the website. You will hear more from the various partners in the project, whom we really appreciate, and not more on the challenges because they will come in the presentations, not on more on the results, just this message of thank you and stay connected.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Andra, for this very nice overview on SPIRE. Now we have time for a roundtable, and as you could have seen, both of the projects share three core dimensions. They share a social dimension in which they want to engage the community, the population, towards behavioral change and towards more environmentally sustainable behaviors and activities, done in different ways, but on the same lines. Ferrara is more towards behavioral change in mobility patterns and the commuting habits, whereas Baia Mare is shifting more towards an over comprehensive behavioral dimensions, also with businesses, with how the people directly contributes to planting and renaturing the city. There is an infrastructural dimension in which both cities are providing indeed ecosystem and environmental services with the planting of new plants that not only have the function of improving the local environment, but have an added value in improving the environment and reducing pollutions. Baia Mare with soils, Ferrara with the air. And in this, there is also the potential of upskilling and reusing the biomass created for other purposes, since this is specifically in SPIRE. And then there is a technological and digital aspect in both of the projects, which is really relevant, both with participatory monitoring. We have IGIS in SPIRE and the air quality participatory monitoring in Ferrara, as well as all the gamification and behavioral changes digital supports. So I think this is an overview that sums up a bit why these two projects are so similar, so closely connected, and there are so many interaction and synergies that could develop between these projects. But now I would leave to the audience, both the project partners as well as the general public that has joined in a very large number to today's meeting. So please, if you have questions, we have some time for them. So please, you may raise your hand and pose your questions or comments. Maybe from the academic partners. I see Eugenio Morello, so please, you can raise your question, and then Andrea Tanase.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I got a lot of information from Baia Mare project, and I was wondering, maybe just to break the ice on the digital participation. You mentioned IGIS using remote sensing and artificial intelligence. I wanted to know more how you can really reach out to citizens, to different people and stakeholders, to get them involved, because this is also a challenge for us. So we have been working for 1 year now digitally, but the physical dimension and for the engagement of local stakeholders and other types of tools are very important. So I just to know a bit more about how you work with this like engagement and how to bring people using these tools.
Yeah, I think Sorin and Kodruz are the right persons to answer. Maybe Sorin and Kodruz, and Sorin on the technical and Kodruz on the social.
So basically, we have a part of the community which wants to get involved, and which we call like the smart part of the community. And we're trying to get them on board and start doing things with those people, and then hopefully things will expand. We've had quite a share of COVID lockdowns or strict measures which tempered with our efforts, but we managed to get a few physical meetings where we describe to the people the ILO, which is the main tool for getting them on board, because it brings them some rewards. And for the GIS part, which you mentioned, that's for a later stage. We have it working, and we bring down Copernicus data from the European Space Agency. And what we are planning to do is create a mixture between the Earth observation data and the ground truth which the University of Agricultural Science provides for us. And as soon as we get sufficient data, we may show the people what the progress is and show them what we have planted, and then maybe teach them how to do it in their own gardens and help them monitor their own gardens or a free area. But I will get on more details in the second part of the day with the description of the IGIS. Getting back to the answer on how do we get people on board, we have created the ILO, which is a local currency, an app that rewards good behavior. And by good behavior, we mean environmental friendly action. It can be walking instead of driving, or going on a bicycle, or participating in the SPIRE Hub events or the project events, or and we're also planning a few actions for the citizens, which my colleague Ciprian will tell you about also in the second part of the day in the ILO session.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Sorin. And now Kodruz, maybe, and I also see that
yeah,
Double Tree.
I just want to make a very quick addition to Sorin's answer, which was very comprehensive. If you find yourself it's challenging to involve citizens, we implemented a really simple strategy for maximizing the impact. So far, we focused on co-design activities for pilot size transformation, but connecting to that, also raising awareness and good environmental behavior. We went to schools and youth, and through them, we might reach their parents. And in this way, we imagine that we can achieve a better citizen involvement on a larger scale. But so far, in the last year, we just worked mainly with youth and some parts of more involved citizens of local neighborhoods for the pilot site redesigning, phytoremediation planting. But in the future, we will have a series of events that will exceed the part of pilot sites and will focus also on ILEO, biomass upcycling, promoting the planting of SPIRE selective plants into their own backyard and things like this.
Yeah, and let me say that the first part of the co-creation and the participatory activities was mostly focused on the redesign and redesigning the new pilot sites, the landscaping and so on and so forth. And of course, the core idea was that of involving those that will be using those spaces for the longest. And therefore, the idea of going with kids and schools, and from them we could also reach the parents and the families, and at large expanding from there. I know that Gabriel wants to add something, and then Andra will also have something to complement on this schools. So, Gabi, please.
So I'm Gabriel from the municipality of Baia Mare. My question was, because one of the colleagues from Ferrara in the intro said, even though they don't have so many bike lanes, they are the city with the most bike users. So in regarding to this, my question is, what caused, I mean, what is the relation between lacking of bike lanes, but you have so many bikers, so many users of bicycle? So if you can give us a hint, if you can help us here with an idea of encouraging more people to use the bike, even if we don't have so many bike lanes now. So it's not quite a question, but if you give us some help here. Thank you.
And I will follow up on that. You already threw another question. What I wanted to complement in terms of awareness raising is that, Codruț was and Sorin were mentioning what was done. One challenging part was not only having information to citizens, because that you can have, but also buying their trust. And this is a challenge that will also continue. And through that, they need to see in the future a possibility for their continued engagement. And if they see that, then for sure the project will be, we will have participation. In one of the presentations done actually at the university here in Cluj, we had students from Baia Mare who were like, oh, that's great. So definitely there is an interest, but will it last? Will we actually see these things happening also after the project ends? So this also awareness and trust and sustainability, they come together. One aspect that we did as a mitigation, because Plantathons and Harvest Fest were ideas on how to really come as citizens and with families to the different sites. But of course, with COVID, we couldn't do so much. We tried to have the awareness raising and these educational kits as a structure in the schools. So except for events, we also are working on and will be sharing with schools educational kits that teachers will have the possibility also to use in the future after the project hands. And actually there is an interest because now the topic of green, of circular economy, they are more and more required also to be implemented in the curricula. So by giving this type of tools and by linking it to requirements that teachers have because of their own curricular requirements, it's a way to give engagement. And I saw that also you have schools as focal points. So I think it's key to keep this engagement. This was my comment, and the question together, Gabriel asked one question, but my question is the one that I was asking at the beginning of the presentation. How much do you see and feel that awareness actually provokes decrease in pollution? So awareness about the levels of air pollution in your case creates a change in behavior and thus a decrease in the air pollution by itself.
Thank you, Andrea. Good comment. Overall, gaining the trust of the citizens is key, and this is also a very key question on the awareness and the impact of awareness. So I would leave to Ferrara to answer. I see some faces popping up. I see Antonio, I see Farah, I see Eugenio, of course.
Yeah, Pietro, I can add some explanation about the usage of gamification that we did in the project, to engage people, to maintain the high awareness and high contribution from the citizens. So we target almost all the ages, in the sense we split the gamification in different mobility campaigns. Okay. So now we have 4 campaigns that are targeting workers, are targeting children, are targeting general citizens. Okay, so in this way we cover all the possible end users. And an important aspect that we can customize and we can define personalized challenges during the weeks and the months, in the sense that we can also monitor what is the status of a specific challenge, and we can in some way tune the challenges in the next weeks, and this will help us to understand the general behavior and to use gamification to change the stuff during the execution of the campaigns. Of course, one example answering to the bike usage and how we engage people and so on to use more the bike. For example, we have launched the Bike to Work initiative. So this means that when you move from home to the work position, you be rewarded with economical rewards. Okay, and there are a lot of employees that now have started to change their behavior. For example, people that use the car to make only 1 kilometer to reach the working place, and now they are using bikes. Okay, so and we are pushing more this aspect. We have campaigns for children, in the sense how they reach the school, integrated with educational material. So this means that teacher at the school will be gaming and playing together with the children, to understand how the children reach the school and how connect the mobility to education learning paths. So we have also this aspect. Of course, for details, we will see more details in the afternoon. I will explain all these campaigns with details, but in general, our goal is to cover all the citizen ages and with the different and personalized campaigns.
Yeah, thank you, Antonio. Before I leave to Eugenio, I also wanted to say one thing on the possibility of inducing people to use the bike. Ferrara and the Emilia-Romagna region in general have a long-standing tradition of cycling that goes way before, comes from like really decades and decades of people having a passion for cycling. So here the matter is to provide the safety conditions to allow the people to cycle within safety without risking to be injured while riding on the car. Whereas in Baia Mare, there is also the challenge of putting people on the bicycle, because it's not a vehicle that is traditionally widespread. So of course there is this difference. Like in Ferrara, most of the people would cycle anyways, and you can increase these numbers if you provide safety, increase safety, and if you provide further incentives. In Baia Mare, you need to start from below. You need to grow their trusting, actually stepping out of the street, riding the bike, getting used to it. So like you start from a very lower baseline in the sense, and this way hard, so even more challenging. So Eugenio, or also Kudus, if you want to.
Yeah. On this first question on biking culture, as Pietro was saying, I think that the city center is already very accessible and safe. So there isn't any probably need for having cycling infrastructure within the walls, because it's completely pedestrian and biking friendly, large streets and everything. But we, even if Ferrara has a very high rate of people, of bikers, we still have to reach to those target users that are not cycling, and especially we are starting like analyzing the behaviors of of commuters. So with the green commuting pathway, and if we have to speak to workers and companies, that's another story, and it requires a lot of let's say more attention. We are working on this axis that connect the city, the town, with the other communities, municipalities and countryside, because this is the main challenge. It's not the city center, but it's how to really engage workers. And I think the campaigns that that Antonio was mentioning are a great tool to start changing behaviors, lifestyle, to bring people that usually don't commute by bike on bike. But yeah, so the challenge is like really to engage now workers and companies to see like how we can sustain also mobility plans of companies, of larger communities that are present in this around this axis of the city. And this is quite a big challenge. We don't have any more like let's say factories that have people entering at 7 a.m. and leave at 5. Everybody has a different schedule, so it's very hard to organize let's say a sort of coherent mobility offer, but we have to be flexible and to offer ways so that people also can change their behaviors. And yeah, so this is just to answer on the first question. On the engagement, maybe I open the floor, maybe also Farha want to say something first, and then I can also.
Thank you, Eugenio. Indeed, I had something to say to complement what already you have been saying, Antonio. Also, for the notion of awareness, we are approaching the question of engagement through an integrated dimension, where we are trying to work on channeling how the innovation system that we are trying to bring into a break. It's not about adopting one solution. It's about proposing a set of solutions that can provide an alternative to what is existing already. So, and this by trying to test a new behavior. This is why campaigns like Bike to Work, or campaigns like Play and Go, or even the activities that we are doing as co-monitoring the environmental setting with specific focus on air quality, is it brings this dimension of experimenting, of testing new behaviors that may allow people to recognize that they have a role to play. It's not something not accessible to them, but yet they are part of, let's say, part of the problem, not meaning that they are producing the problem, but they are exposed to it, don't somehow helping the situation, caring for the situation, and playing a role in this value chain can help everyone to contribute to it. And this plays on narrative. So this is the third dimension. So first, the innovation system, second, behavior, and the third is the narrative. Within the narrative, what we are trying to do, when we speak, a lot of resistance happens when we are talking about awareness to citizens. And citizens reply, and especially activists, but yes, it's awareness also to politicians, awareness to decision makers, awareness to the private sectors who develop solutions. So what we are trying to do is really to pool existing awareness, because it's not only about raising awareness to people, because we cannot come into a co-creation process by saying it's a tabula rasa, people don't care. There's a lot of people who cares, and they are leverage point. And what we are trying to do is really to go and pool these energies and let them play a new, let's say, partita, let's say, new music together with this conversation. So what we are trying to do in our events is really to convene people, to bring diverse perspective on the issue, and also to share their experience. And when I say experience, it's about the experience of people who deny the problem, experience of people who maybe don't feel that the way that we are producing the solution can be credible. So trying to understand who doesn't understand the complexity, but would like to know how to manage it, or who doesn't understand what is their own responsibility or how to upscale their actions that they are doing at small scales. So what we are trying to do through awareness is really to try to navigate this complexity, to try to what we call facilitating a breakthrough, like really removing the obstacles where people can connect, can contribute, and also to bring diversity into the process. So mainly this is what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. It's actually really a good point out of the narrative, and many times people are like very much aware, and then the typical answer is yeah, but this is too big of a challenge for us. This, what can we do? And here is changing the narratives, showing the perspective, and that's where you can achieve. I know Kodruz has a comment, so please.
Yeah, short comment. I think this discussion that is sort of at the borderline of our strict limits of the project shows that what we are implementing in Baia Mare and in Ferrara has the potential of a greater impact after the project implementation. And it's something really valuable. And now I'm hinting towards ILE, which is a tool constructed to be implemented in this 3 or 4 years time period, that after the project ends, will have the potential of generating further impact. So the process co-creation, co-design, and participatory approach process you implement in Ferrara has the same impact on a longer scale. And I think this is the added value of urban innovative actions, which are actually first-hand, hands-on experiments in the urban environment.
Yeah, thank you, Kodruz. I saw that Gabriel Triff raised his hand for a quick comment, and then we can go to our lunch break. We're already a bit over time, and then we can reconvene afterwards in the afternoon for the keynote speeches. So, Gabriel, if you have a closing comment, a very brief one, otherwise, it seems it doesn't. So, I think that I can thank you very much, all of you, for joining this morning. It's been a very interesting presentations and a very engaged conversation and roundtable. So thank you very much for this. I also thank Andra that will have to leave us in the afternoon, unfortunately. Also, many thanks to Nelida Hancco-Herrera, who will open the meeting this morning. She already was forced to leave, unfortunately, for other commitments, but I wanted to publicly thank her, and she will see my thank you in the recordings. So thank you very much, everyone, and we will see at 13:30, so 1:30 p.m. CET and 2:30 Eastern European time. So see you later, and we will restart sharp at 1:30 with 3 keynote speakers that are Andy Cundy, Loiuse Francis, and Enrique Perez. So enjoy your lunch, and see you in a bit. So the recording has now started, as well as the Facebook Live. So thank you very much again for being here to this Sustainable Smart City, Nature, Community, and Technology joint workshop between the Airbreak and Ferrara inspired by Mare Urban Innovative Action Projects. This is the afternoon session, and it is my pleasure to open this with 3 distinguished keynote speeches held by Andy Cundy, Loiuse Francis, and Enrique Perez. Our keynote speakers will be Loiuse Francis from Mapping for Change, and Loiuse is a co-founder and managing director of the social enterprise Mapping for Change, which is part owned by the University College London. Loiuse discovered the power of maps through her early research in evolutionary genetics and the environment. She then moved on from there to combine people, places, and the environment and maps in our work and research with a particular focus on justice, sustainability, and community development. Loiuse has led projects that embed participatory processes, community engagement, co-design, and citizen science to drive positive change. This spans topics from sustainable tourism and diversification in small island states to local pollution monitoring and urban planning, from exploring issues of accessibility for people with mobility impairments to looking at citizenship as social housing issues with a particular focus on marginalized groups. And she will, of course, have her keynote on participatory environmental and monitoring. We will have Andy Cundy. Welcome, Andy. Andy is also a longtime friend and contributor with SPIRE Baia Mare, and he's from the University of Southampton, where he's professor of environmental radioactivity and the research director of the University Consultancy and Research Unit, GAU Radioanalytical, in the School of Ocean and Earth Science at the University of Southampton. Having originally studied oceanography, he graduated with a PhD in geology from Southampton in 1994, and since then he has worked at various UK universities before rejoining Southampton in 2016. He has over 30 years research experience in environmental cycling and behavior of aquatic and terrestrial pollutants, environmental radioactivities, environmental geology, and contaminated land, wastes, and water management, including the development of novel electrokinetic and nature-based land remediation methods. Andy has worked across 4 continents in projects funded by government environmental bodies, the European Union, and private industry, and he has published over 140 papers and 2 patents. And last but not least, we will have Enrique Perez from Civic Playground. Enrique has worked for 24 years in the fields of design and design research, and for about 17 years in the fields of games. He has worked on a wider range of play-related projects such as toys, board games, digital amusement park attractions. Digital games, gamified activities, everyday activities, interactive installations, learning platforms, gamified performances, and even in amusement and park attraction. The topics of these projects have revolved around the unbalanced distribution of resources in the world, meditation and concentration, skill acquisition for people within the autistic spectrum, misinformation, empathy development, bullying, school shootings, forced female prostitution, peace building in the Middle East, city touring, the negative effects of corruption in society, extortion and bureaucracy, and human rights. Currently, as Civic Playgrounds, Dr. Enrique Perez carries out gamification projects around the development cooperation, education and behavior change for international, governmental, and non-profit organizations. Enrique's focus is always on the audiences or users, as well as on the entire ecosystem in which these people coexist with other stakeholders, so that everyone in the ecosystem benefits, the environment is respected. So I think we can now start. I can see Andy Cundy. So it's my pleasure to give him the floor for the first keynote speech. Please let me know if I need to run your slides or if you run yours.
Thanks, Pietro. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we do.
Excellent. Sorry for the slight delay out of you, connectivity issues. It's great to see everyone, even virtually. Thank you very much for inviting me here today to give a keynote presentation. It's my great pleasure to be here. I will now attempt to share my screen and give the presentation.
Yeah, I will allow you doing so in a second. I think you can share your screen already.
Now, can you see my slides, Pietro?
Not yet, but if you wish, I can just share yours.
Yeah, that might be easiest.
Yeah, let's go this way.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so thanks again for inviting me here today. What I'd like to do is to present a brief talk on brownfields to greenfields, and this is all about practical contaminant management strategies using phytomanagement. Now, I presented a similar talk about a year ago at a SPIRE workshop. Obviously, there's a wider audience here today, so I'm going to cover the concept and give an update on the recent activities we've been doing in this area. Okay, next slide, please, Pietro. Okay, so in terms of content, I'll cover what phytomanagement is, so the phytomanagement concept. I'll talk a little bit about how that builds on the EU Greenland project. I know some of the audience were involved in that project and I worked with them on that, looking at success stories and integrated management tools. And then I'll talk a little bit about some integrated system examples, Murdoch in the USA, Colombia, and also some recent work on nuclear sites. And then finally, I'll talk about some current work on identifying the benefits of phyto management and sustainability linkages, and a little bit on waterfront brownfields, and then I'll conclude with some final thoughts. Okay, so phytoremediation, which I'm aware that many people in the audience have worked on or are aware of, is the use of living green plants for the in situ removal, degradation or containment of contaminants in soils, surface waters and groundwater. And this can be considered a gentle remediation option, and we define that as a risk management strategy or technology that results in a net gain or at least no gross reduction in soil function, as well as achieving risk management. That's really important because it preserves the soil resource rather than destroying it. And there's very strong synergies with nature-based solution concepts and practice. So phytomanagement is kind of where you take the central concept that phytoremediation approaches can be applied as part of wider risk and land management strategies, either alone or in combination with other remediation techniques. And the idea here is that you gradually mitigate or eliminate contaminant-induced health and environmental risks, while importantly simultaneously realizing economic, ecosystem service and other benefits. And in the diagram on the base of this slide, you can see the source pathway receptor model that's used for contaminated land and other risk management. And the idea here is that you're using plant-based approaches to break the contaminant linkage, either removing the source or breaking the pathway to protect the receptor. Next slide, please, Pietro. In phytomanagement, though, as well as this core risk management focus in terms of managing the source pathway receptor linkage, phytomanagement also place the realization of wider benefits at the core of the remediation technology or the site design. So here we're looking at using phytoremediation and other gentle remediation technologies as part of integrated mixed site risk management solutions, or actually as part of holding strategies for vacant sites. So to reduce the risk effectively while you decide how you're going to manage the sites in the future. They can also be used to provide economic leveraging for site redevelopment. Just talking about that diagram at the top of the slide in a bit more detail, we can see there that you can use phytomanagement to gradually remove or immobilize the source term, or you can use it as to break the contaminant pathway to reduce the mobile pool of contaminants, to reduce the flux of contaminants to receptors. You can also use phytomanagement to manage receptor access to the subsurface by providing a green cover. And in doing that, you can provide a range of ancillary or wider benefits, such as improvement in ecosystem services. If you're using plants for biomass, you can get economic returns from biomass, for leisure and recreation, for health benefits, importantly to some in the audience, for air pollution benefits and urban heat island benefits, for flood protection, but also importantly for carbon sequestration. Next slide, please. So just to give a bit of background, so we originally started thinking about this phytomanagement concept during the EU Greenland project. So this was a Framework 7 project, and this effectively brought together a range of contaminated land experts and phytomanagement experts to look at the coordinated data collection from a range of long duration gentle remediation option pilot projects at contaminated sites across Europe. So to kind of build on the data collected and integrate the data collected over the long term of these practical field applications, to try and use that to evaluate standard protocols and methods for site monitoring. But importantly, the part of the project I was particularly involved in, we developed a set of specific design aids for use when gentle remediation options appear to be a viable option, to promote the appropriate use of gentle remediation options and encourage the participation of and inform stakeholders. Next slide, please. So the decision support tool or model that we developed was a very simple Excel-based decision support tool. It was a 3-phase model where initially Phase 1 looks at the definitions and scope of gentle remediation options, kind of initial concepts and feasibility to look at the question, is gentle remediation an option at your site? And then you get a yes or no decision point. Phase 2 is more exploratory, looking at stakeholder engagement, sustainability assessment, and potential cost. And then phase 3 are the design stages, technical assessment and derivation of operating windows for gentle remediation options. And that was designed to be applied either at options appraisal stage, but also it can be applied much earlier on in the risk assessment and site design stage. Next slide, please, Pietro. So the idea here was to provide a practical, usable tool to interface with existing decision support tools and national guidance. And the aim was really to support site planning, options appraisal, stakeholder engagement, and consideration of initial design scenarios for phyto management. And also, importantly, to wider educate stakeholders of the potential risk management capacity and sustainability benefits of groves, economic, environmental, and societal benefits that can be realized through their application. And that decision support system is available on request. We're looking at ways of making this more widely available and more persistently available online, but I'm very happy to provide copies as needed. Next slide, please. So as a kind of practical example of this phyto management concept, I want to give a case study very briefly of some work we published last year on a site in Nebraska in the Midwest USA. This was a carbon tetrachloride contaminated site. Carbon tetrachloride had been used as a pesticide at a former CCC US Department of Agriculture facility, a grain storage facility, and was leaking out into the groundwater. Here, the US EPA, and particularly the Argonne National Laboratories, applied an integrated risk management system, so an integrated remediation system. Initially at the closest point to the source where the plume was most concentrated of the carbon tetrachloride, an air stripping process was put in place to remove the carbon tetrachloride from the groundwater and dissipate to air. Importantly, from our point of view, though, elements 2 and elements 3 were gentle remediation options. So element 2 was a phyto remediation zone, and element 3 was a constructed wetland used for final polishing of the groundwater before it entered a local stream, which was the local compliance point and risk management point. So the idea here was to protect down gradient surface waters using both the air stripping, but also the phyto remediation and constructed wetlands. Next slide, please. So this site underwent a greater than 10-year monitoring program, monitoring surface water, groundwater, air and vegetation samples. And some of the data are shown there. The key points for today really is that obviously the air stripping process close to the source of the plume removed quite a lot of the carbon tetrachloride contamination. But within the phyto management part of the remediation system shown on the left of the slide there, these are data for surface water. We can see quite clearly at surface water monitoring point 1, we have quite high concentrations of carbon tetrachloride declining over time due to the action of the air stripping upstream of that. But we get much lower concentrations as we move through the phyto management system into the constructed wetland. It was estimated that carbon tetrachloride was removed between 300 and 600 grams annually. And importantly here, the wider benefits of the system were able to quantify to some extent in terms of the amount of carbon sequestration. Importantly, this site had significant biodiversity benefits because between the trees, native trees were used, but also prairie grasses were planted in between the trees to encourage local species diversity in an area that was heavily impacted by intensive agriculture. It also allowed community participation and education benefits. It's used as a living classroom by the local community. Second example I'd like to very briefly give is from an integrated system that we proposed for use in artisanal gold mining sites in Colombia. These sites are grossly contaminated with mercury. And here the aim was to try and stabilize the mercury using soil amendments within the soil and then establish a vegetative cap of green cover or biomass. Now, the idea there was to provide environmental and health protection from mercury contamination, but also a local income source from biomass generation and carbon sequestration and other benefits. Just to show the data there, we used a proprietary soil amendment, a biochar from Secure Limited, and effectively there we can see, even with quite low amendment application rates of 1%, we can very effectively remove water extractable mercury from the system. Next slide, please. Final example really of the integrated management approach is some work we're doing currently under the Transcend project for site decommissioning and remediation in the UK. This is working with nuclear site stakeholders to assess GROW as a nature-based solution to support nuclear site management and decommissioning, both at individual nuclear sites and also at large area contaminated sites like the Fukushima exclusion zone. So on nuclear sites during decommissioning, we're looking at how we can combine GROWs or phyto management with more invasive technologies or ongoing site activities. That might be building demolition, building removal. So here we're looking at whether we can use wetland systems for runoff management, whether we can use site greening, green cover to prevent wind blow and erosion of soil and dust. Very important on nuclear sites where some of the contamination may be alpha emitting radionuclides, which are highly dangerous if they're inhaled, breathed in. So the idea there is to reduce risk and potential contaminant spread or reworking. The diagram on the right-hand side of the slide shows a kind of integrated management approach and benefits from applying this at a larger site. Here we're looking at carbon sequestration benefits. If we're looking at a larger site, it's potentially leisure tourism benefits for a site like the Fukushima exclusion zone, enhancement of ecosystem services and biodiversity, coupled with in situ stabilization of radioactive products, reduction of airborne contamination, and reduction in soil erosion. Importantly, this can improve site resilience, for example, to extreme rainfall events, while providing biodiversity, carbon sequestration, and other benefits. Next slide, please. More recent work, we've been looking at how effectively we can identify and compare benefits and disbenefits with a focus on waterfront brownfields. One of the key issues about using phyto management is being able to quantify the benefits you realize. So if you're trying to decide whether to phyto manage a site for soft reuse or whether to build houses on it, it's very useful if you can show the overall economic benefit of the phyto management approach. So those benefits may arise from environmental improvements, carbon sequestration, direct economic benefits, but also societal benefits. So access to green space benefits, an increase in surrounding house prices and other benefits. So some of these you can cost easily, some of those are much more difficult. So what we're looking at here is developing a sustainability linkages approach for assessing and comparing different scenarios of brownfield regeneration to soft reuse like phyto management and other endpoints. So here, much like the contaminant linkage model, we look at a driver, a mechanism, and a receptor. The driver may be exhaust emissions affecting local air quality, the mechanism may be traffic movements, and the receptor may be local community. So these are benefits and disbenefits. We use those sustainability linkages, we combine them in an overall model, working with stakeholders to produce a conceptual site model for sustainability, effectively a network diagram. And that assists in making individual cause and effect chains explicit, and also allows different management options to be more readily compared. And also importantly, you can group linkages together to more explicitly value them. And we've applied that at a coastal site at Liverpool in the Mersey estuary, which has been a landfill converted to urban parkland. And that approach seems to be pretty effective at looking at different management options at that site. Next slide, please. So that was a very brief whistle-stop tour of phyto management. The key concluding thoughts here, that in the literature, really, the published literature and in practice, we're seeing a refocus from pure phyto remediation to wider phyto management-based approaches, which place realization of wider benefits at the core of site design, and where you apply phyto and other gentle remediation technologies as part of integrated mixed risk management solutions. You can combine GROWs with renewables for biomass, but also with wind and solar power. And that provides a range of economic and other benefits, potentially supporting the return of low-level contaminated sites to more productive usage. And it's not just about large brownfields. You can combine phyto and grows with urban design and landscape architecture, and you can integrate these strategies into sustainable urban drainage systems, community gardens, parkland, and this has large potential for triggering application of these techniques and realizing wider benefits in urban and suburban systems. Finally, identifying these wider benefits and their value above standard economic returns is important if you're going to leverage funding, but also engage local stakeholders for grow application and soft site end use more widely to encourage the effective management and the green management of vacant or underutilized sites. Thanks for your attention. Hopefully that was just about 15 minutes. I welcome any questions.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting. I'll see how many examples of photo management benefits in so many different contexts can be achieved. And I think this would be really useful for both of the projects that are implementing a nature-based solution and sort of phyto management techniques in different contexts with different purposes. I would try and keep the questions for after the 3 keynotes, but I would also invite you to stay for the breakout rooms where you're going to have the deep dives on the 2 projects, and then they will really be beneficial to have a discussion with the insights of the 2 projects and your insights. So if you can, would be great. And so thank you very much. And then I would move to our second keynote, to Loiuse Francis from Mapping from Change. I think you can share your screen. If not, I will also make you co-host, so you will get the privileges, of course. And Loiuse, please, welcome very much to our workshop, and the floor is yours. But I believe you're still muted.
Unmute. There we go. Thanks very much. Are you able to hear me and see my screen?
Yes, perfectly. Wide and clear.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for the invite and also for the introduction. In my talk, I'm just really going to kind of give an introduction in terms of who we are as an organization and the way in which we work. And then provide just 2 examples of 2 different projects looking at citizen science and environmental monitoring. So, as you said in the introduction, we're a social enterprise which is part owned by University College London. And we really established after a couple of decades working with different communities in London and further afield on citizen science and sustainability projects, because we saw that there was really a need to build the bridge between university and academia and the real world applications of the research that's undertaken in academia. And also in terms of engaging communities, being able to provide ongoing support and engagement long after our PhD theses have been submitted and funding cycles have ended. So we set up the organization back in 2008. And our kind of underlying practice and kind of work and programs is really about developing and designing participatory methodologies using spatial information and citizen science to engage all stakeholders, particularly those that are not necessarily given a voice or engaged in these types of discussions, discourses, decision-making processes, and really with the aim to create more resilient and sustainable communities. And we use maps as a medium to do that, because everything we experience, we see, hear, smell happens somewhere and in a place, and places resonate with people in different ways. Just to kind of give you an overview of where we've worked over the last few years, and we've supported communities in the UK, mainland Europe. We've done some work in sub-Saharan Africa to generate new data and knowledge that really has an impact on multiple levels. On the personal level, where we're looking at trying to kind of raise awareness or increase girls' interest in engaging in STEM career paths, from actually more localized work looking at trying to make improvements to the local environment. And part of our work, or over the years in some of the work and projects that we've developed, has been to design an engagement framework, a kind of methodological way of working, which is designed deliberately to be quite generic and flexible, that can be applied in multiple different contexts. And it's really looking at the starting point in terms of what information currently exists in the public domain and it is available about a place and location, and how representative or not that might be. And having that as the starting point to start engaging people and in the discourse and thinking about what data or what information might need to be collected, whether we're looking at the qualitative perceptions side of things, or whether we need to actually initiate a citizen science process to actually collect hard quantitative data to inform decision-making processes. And then obviously you've got the digitization and the mapping side of that. But before we even get to that point, there are a number of factors that we have to consider when initiating any type of engagement for citizen science or kind of participatory GIS programs, is understanding, and this is really kind of important when we're looking at the development of technologies, is really understanding the kind of wider, broader context of where we're working and how we're working. Prime example, we had a project in Thessaloniki. We were using a base map that was still calling Thessaloniki North Macedonia. And given the fact that, you know, there've been disputes for the last 30 years, that name hadn't been updated on the base map. And that kind of generates a whole set of kind of mistrusts or issues when you're working in a particular locality. But then there's also the social context in which you're working. So sometimes we have to look at whether the technologies that we're wanting to deploy are accessible or inclusive, and how can we develop and design technologies that enable all actors to engage in a process. And then obviously at the more kind of localized level, thinking about kind of the mapping, what are we mapping, perceptions, or are we actually trying to generate new quantitative data? And just lastly, one kind of consideration and point that I'd like to make, because obviously I know the workshop is very much also about the kind of citizen science of the two projects here. You know, when we talk about citizen science, you know, not all citizen science is equal, and the involvement of non-professional scientists at various levels in terms of engaging them is also not equal. And this is a kind of typology and different various levels of engagement that was developed by one of the Mapping for Change co-founders, Muki Hackley. And I'm not going to cover all of these, but as an organization, we try to operate in the two kind of top tier levels. So very much around participative science, where the problems that are being defined and the data being collected is a collaborative kind of process, rather than we're just looking at using citizens as centers. And then obviously when we're looking at the top level and we say extreme citizen science, that's where the problem definition and the research questions are actually co-developed or initiated and developed with the communities and the stakeholders that we're working with. So I just want to share a couple of examples of some citizen science environmental monitoring projects that we've worked in. And I kind of have introduced it as the tale of two cities. And I'll tell you why. They're very different, and their starting points and situations are extremely different and quite extreme. So for the Science for My Health project was actually initiated by ourselves in collaboration with UCL as part of our kind of REF, and kind of looking at the impact that the research within UCL and what we do has had over the years. So we wanted to replicate some of the work and projects that we've done elsewhere in a new location and in a new context. So we started the Science for My Health project in Kampala. And just for those of you that are not familiar with the kind of local context, Kampala is the capital city of Uganda, and it has one of the fastest growing populations across Africa, or in African cities. And the estimated population in 2015 was just over 3 million. And you set that against a backdrop of a city that was originally designed for a population of 150,000. So it has long outgrown itself in terms of setup and infrastructure. And when we're looking at the kind of resident population of 3 million, another key factor is that that doubles on a diurnal basis, where you have people migrating into the city on a daily basis for work, for school, and other activities. So there's rapid urban growth in Kampala, and it's causing major socio-economic and environmental problems and really lowering the quality of life of most of the residents and inhabitants. The other project, Science in the City, which was initiated first in 2014, is centered on the City of London. So the heart of the capital city in London, and really centered on a major estate, housing estate within that capital city. And just to give you an idea in terms of the demographic makeup there, you've got a resident population of around 9,500 people. Again, similar diurnal pattern as you're seeing in Kampala, where you've got something in the region of 1 million workers who migrate into the city on a daily basis. But in terms of the actual resident population, we're looking at things like car ownership. It has the lowest percentage of car ownership across all London boroughs, all boroughs across the city. And even those that use cars, let's say to commute, are extremely small. So it's a very busy city, highly trafficked, but actually that traffic is not being generated by the local population. It's people migrating in and out of the capital city. So these two projects had a very different starting point, both in terms of the stakeholders that we were engaging, but actually where they were in relation to access to information. So in the Barbican, residents were fairly informed about air quality and air pollution, and also had access to some information. So the local authorities have to publish air quality data as part of a kind of legal obligation. They also are an older, let's say an older demographic. So they have social capital, there is capacity, but still maybe not so much of a degree to empower, influence decisions in relation to this particular topic. And if you compare that to Kampala, where there is little to no information, there's one air quality monitoring station, which is outside the US Embassy site, and that's it. And also very little capacity by the regulators, the city council. But in that case, they were in a position of authority or power, because the people that we were working with jointly were the regulators and also the city council authorities, along with kids in schools. So quite different. So what we did to start off with in Kampala was to try to identify potential monitoring sites because of the lack of air quality data and the lack of kind of spatial or temporal monitoring, to really try and set up a baseline data set to gather information. So we used our online community mapping platform to start looking at where potential places would be relevant to collect air quality data to create that baseline. Similarly, in Barbican, we also engaged the residents there to propose and suggest where they think there were particular hotspots or problematic areas across the City of London, and places that they thought it was really key and important to try and collect data, because monitoring wasn't being undertaken there by the local authority. So they used the mapping platform to kind of propose ideas and the rationale behind why they thought it was important to monitor in those particular spots. So what we then did is kind of co-develop a kind of monitoring campaign in the City of London. This was over a course of 12 months. And in Kampala, this was over the course of 6 months, where we trained both the local residents in the City of London, and in Kampala, we trained the local authority officers, we trained the National Environment Management Agency, and we also trained the kids. to actually set up. And what we were using were diffusion tubes, which enables us to collect data for nitrogen dioxide, simply because they are easy to deploy, very cost effective. And in the case of the UK, we can also compare that with other data sets that are collected by local authorities across the country. So it gives us something to compare by. Coupled with that, the kind of quantitative data collection, in Kampala, we also initiated an awareness raising campaign and designed materials for the schools and the teachers to actually deliver to the kids so that they could kind of develop lesson plans, so they could set up science experiments and provided them with different resources, and also set up a kind of inter-schools competition to think about mitigation and awareness raising campaigns that they could initiate within their schools. In the Barbican, again, part of the awareness was also initiating things like anti-idling campaigns, and the residents had stalls at different kind of fetes and festivals that they held in the area. So I've tried to generate a broader awareness about the project itself, but also things that could be done to try to improve or mitigate exposure to pollution. So I'm not going to go into detail because I know I haven't got a lot of time in terms of the results. And I kind of want to maybe just finalize or summarize more about what difference it makes and the kind of outcomes. So in the Barbican, over the course of 12 months, they were able to collect 713 data points, we'll put it like that, for nitrogen dioxide. And we obviously mapped that with the community, who were then also able to share that not only with the local authority, but with other actors, businesses and other actors in the particular locality. And again, in Kampala, we also mapped the data that was collected over the 6 months. And this was across 92 sites that were erected. And that data was also able to be shared with a broader set of actors. So I think one of the key motivations as an organization for us is not to just engage people for the sake of engaging them, or to initiate citizen science projects because we're interested ourselves in a particular piece of research, but it's really to use it as an agent for change, so that we can actually make something happen on the back of the new knowledge that is being generated through this process. So in the case of the Barbican, at the end of the project, the residents came up with a set of actions that they really wanted to see implemented. And they included things like having traffic restrictions and control particularly polluting vehicles, trying to also control, what do we call this? Drop off and pick off of, shopping and other things like that. And also trying to control the emission from construction sites, which was quite a concern. There's a lot of construction in the heart of London. And they also wanted to see more green infrastructure being set up in the high walks and also some of the streets around the area. Now, a lot of their ideas and wish lists were actually fed into the City of London's air quality strategy for that period, which ran from 2015 to 22. And the City of London implemented a number of trials and changes on the back of this particular piece of research. So they introduced a low emission neighborhood and also piloted a zero emission zone, which has actually just stopped. That pilot has just ended at the end of last year. They installed a number of electric charging points. They started a cargo bike delivery service. They had a kind of an annual pattern of anti-idling action days, and also implemented a lot of greening and put in a lot of green infrastructure in the area. So the data that was gathered and engaging the citizens in this particular project saw a lot of outcomes. And in this particular, we started this project in 2014 and it ran for a year. We've actually just started last year to a replica of this project, which will run for a year, to try and measure the impact that those interventions that have been made by the City of London is going to have on the the nitrogen dioxide levels that we will be measuring now over the next coming year. So again, we want to have a look at the impact that this has had. In relation to Kampala, just kind of looking at the outcomes, that they were able to create and generate data they've never had before, ever. And also to develop a more systematic and permanent monitoring network and protocol, which is now being implemented. And on the back of this whole process of capacity building and collecting new data, we have our first draft, which I saw the last copy of it in December, of the first ever air quality regulations for the country. So there's some hard, clear outcomes as a result of this process, but also in terms of the kind of engagement and awareness raising, there's much more heightened awareness of air pollution and the impacts, and also some of the mitigation strategies. And again, a lot of increased capacity within the kind of regulators and local authority officers. And I mean, the kids were amazing, and all of them now want to go off and be scientists as a result of being involved in the project. But I think I just want to kind of finish and say that it's very important for us in terms of when we're working to be able to design processes and tools and applications that are replicable and can be scaled. And this last slide here is just an example of us doing exactly the same process and project in Barcelona, where we were working in 20 schools and engaged over 1,000 kids, and they monitored in over 800 locations. And again, that's a data set that just did not exist in Barcelona prior to the setup of this project. So it's really about designing tools and processes to integrate with the kind of local context, and understanding what's the starting point and how you can kind of move people on from that starting point to somewhere that looks better. And I shall end there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Loiuse. That was really inspiring, and it really shows how important your work is. And I think there is a lot of common points also with the activities that both of the projects are doing. And you were not here yet, but in the previous session we were discussing a bit of the importance of the context as a starting point. So the 3 levels of context, that's a very fundamental issue. There's one also very important, is like how to choose and train your target participants in order to achieve your results. Raising the awareness, working with the existing awareness, but it's also important. I think you can provide a contribution both on how to set up the process and what the technology that backs this process. It's very, very important, and it's very crucial to consider the participants as agents of change and working with them to generate a true and meaningful impact. And one of the things that is a field rouge with all the projects is also working with kids and schools. So we are actually running a bit late, but I will also invite you to stay for the breakout room, because I think there's a lot of discussion, and we can now move. So thank you very much, Loiuse, once again, and then we can now move to our last but not least keynote speaker, that is Enrique Perez from Civic Playgrounds, and of course covering about the gamification and behavioral change. So thank you very much, Loiuse, and Enrique, floor is yours.
Hi, thank you very much for this invitation. I really hope that you can hear me. I will start sharing my screen. Can you see my screen, my Miro board?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so I want to share with you something that I've been observing for the last years, not only working at Civic Playgrounds, but also as a researcher working on gamification and game design. So combining all these experiences, I want to talk about the governance and the management of behavior change oriented gamification projects, and how to call it, like challenges that I have observed, and also how to reach or how to accomplish good results. So I want to talk briefly about 3 focus areas that are, from my point of view, in these projects, especially public funded projects, what are like either leading to the success or to failure. Yes, so basically I see these challenges like as like if it was like an iceberg, like the challenges that are visible to the users or to the people that we are like in contact with are that the implementation of projects that have to deal with gamification, especially seek to impact their life and want to improve their life, or like seek any kind of behavior change in them, they have actually like they produce no change. They're actually, as users, they realize that they don't have like the product, the service, or the city service, whatever the project is, it offers no impact. That has like no value, and that the interactions that we're offering to the users are actually not functional. As I said, this is like the tip of the iceberg, what the users can really see. But there's another part that is what the people working with the projects, managing the projects, like public servants, people that are the ones putting out the tenders, or that are promoting the projects, so that are like actually working on the projects, are facing other challenges. For instance, the time is up because all these projects are like running based on a specific deadline and timing, or the funding is over, and then there's actually no app or no like design or gamification around the project, or the solution is ready, but it's not compliant either with the GDPR or with the specifications that were given to the provider. So there's actually no way to work, or there's actually no documentation to justify how the funds were used for the production of the gamification or the app or whatever. So these are the challenges. So as I see 3 focus areas. Can you see my whole screen? Because okay, so I see these 3 focus areas. One is project definition. The second one is strategic planning. That is something that at least in the 90s, in the 80s, I'm an old person, so back then we used to talk too much about strategic planning when we were working on different projects. So probably it is something that I don't hear so often nowadays, but it is really important. And the third focus area is management. And then I have also in parentheses customer-centric management. And I will detail, I will provide insights about it in the next slides. So first, like when it comes to project definition, I want to touch upon 3 different points. One about gamification. What will be gamification based on what I have worked, what I have done. Also talk about a little about behavior change. And since this event is about smart cities, I also want to talk a little about smart cities. So about gamification. Okay. So there are plenty of solutions and plenty of stereotypes about gamification, but I want to talk about game studies. And if someone has been formed around game studies or has been educated about game design, you, as I was, you might remember that you were taught that when it comes to games, if you remove all the assets, all the visuals, all the points, you will kind of like have like the essence of the game. That is what we call gameplay. And this gameplay, like you can put like a different graphics, different kind of points, different kind of rewards, but the gameplay or the core will remain the same. And that is actually what is important for the players. The story that is being told with the visuals or the points or whatever are like additional things that are not really part of the game. But is the game what is really the trigger and the thing that is interesting the people. And based on this, I can also tell you, in cities there are also games or playfulness going on. And here, for instance, is related to the games that people want to play. And playing is something that has existed for thousands of years. There are games that have existed, as I said, for thousands of years, like for instance, chess, backgammon, the game of Ur. All these games are very old. And even though that in these games, collecting things might have been important, like as a reward or like a collecting of things. The interesting thing of the attracting thing about these games was not the collecting, but the coming up with the strategies, spending time with other people. This is what really gamification is about, and we can see it in the cities. Here I have some pictures of my surroundings. So here in Berlin, that is where I'm based. Here at the top, I have like a picture of a stand that people put up so that the homeless can go there and take food. So the people go there, fill it up, and people share up food. Here is also here on the left side on top is a tree has been decorated by people, and also there's a tent where people live because they don't have a house. Here and at the bottom and right, people found like other things that people have dumped, and they started decorating. And here on the right side, someone left a briefcase. And these activities are telling us how people want to behave and how the playfulness that they have, and that can be, it is something that we can use to design with. So they're telling us, I want to belong, I want to be seen, I want to share with other people. So these are already dynamics that we can work with, and that is like pure gamification. Next, about project definition, the topic about smart cities. This is my definition as a designer. That is, I see design as a problem-solving activity, and also someone from a scientific with a scientific background. I would say smart cities are not digital versions of the cities, but more like the ecosystems, where the ecosystems that adapt to their inhabitants, so that these ecosystems can adapt and to provide to satisfy the demands of the inhabitants in a sustainable way. So even if these ecosystems are not fully digital, they are smart in the way that the inhabitants can thrive there. And when it comes to behavior change, I have seen like a trend of, or like a trend where people expect like something like Pavlovian, that the user will just get like a trigger or like a reward or notification, and they will be acting and will yield a specific result. And it is not like that. Like, people have they are conscious of what they're doing, and they really can accept things that are making sense to them, things that are logical to them. But in many situations, all these mechanisms are foreign to them, like rewards, extra points, are things that probably they don't really see as useful. What is important for them is to get some value of the implementations of the proposals that we are giving to them. So if we make, as just an example of providing value, if we connect people with other people, and this implies that they can commute less, that they can save up money and so on, they are already providing some value. Well, we are providing them some value, and they are already modifying their behavior in a positive way, but also they are willing to do it. So it's not that they are forced, or that they are in a not conscious way interfering the way of acting. What is important here with behavior change is that they find the proposal, the gamification, useful, that it provides value to them, and that it makes sense to them. And also here I want to raise one important thing. When it comes to designing gamification or any kind of appealing tool or system or service, we even are competing with other apps, with other services, even with social media, like with TikTok, with Instagram. And you might say, well, how come that if I'm producing like an app about reducing the carbon footprint of people, how will I be competing with TikTok or with Instagram? The thing is that the attention of the users, of the people out there, is so fragmented. So once that they feel that they need to jump to the other apps or to the other services, it's really hard to bring them back, and also to have their focus on what we're offering them to them, and what we're telling them. So we are competing to other apps and to other services that are also offering them rewards, points, etc. That's for project definition. So when it comes to project definition, how I can summarize it is, Gamification will be playfulness. Behavior change will be providing user value, and a smart city will be like the ecosystem where inhabitants can thrive. And then going to the second topic will be the strategic planning. So when it comes to strategic planning, all the projects have to be formulated around quantifiable and measurable goals. And once that we have these quantifiable and measurable goals and we have our KPIs, we have to consider that there might be like the chance of the situation where we develop an app that helps us to track, that helps us to provide a service or to have any kind of a specific interaction with the user. But still, this doesn't mean that the number of downloads is an indicator of the success of our effort. Once that we have data, once that we have numbers, we have to see what else we have to do. We also have to check what other kind of human interactions we are running. Probably we also have social media campaigns where we are also working with data, and all this is our whole project. And then we have to see from our whole project how we're measuring at different points, and then aggregate all the data and all the information, and probably even include other not only the data but also other researchers, and pull out information and then do a whole data intelligence work. So when it comes to strategic planning, it means that I have to see what is my project about, what is my quantifiable and measurable goal, and then like point what is exactly all the different things that I have to do, and then encompass all the data, all the information as part of the results, and measuring if my work is giving the outputs that I'm expecting. And then when it comes to the management, that I see that hopefully we can have also customer-centric management when it comes to this kind of projects. When it comes to the project specifications, we can see them as like tenders or like tasks or different text to provide to our providers. If we are public servants and we want to commission a gamification implementation, we also have to consider that the service providers are also our customers, and that the best way that we can work with them and the best results will come if we provide them the documentation that they need. That will be, for instance, checklist, chronological development processes. So to tell them you have to do to develop the app, but what you're developing the app, please provide me A, B, C, D, E, F, what you're doing the development process. Specify, list all the documents that they have to deliver, raise the awareness on backstopping. So there has to be also responsibility from the service providers on all the duties that have to be met. So provide documentation, provide accounting, all the things that are needed from the administration or the management of the project to justify the funding or the investment of the funds, and also review touch points. So basically these are the three focus areas: project definition, strategic planning, and customer-centric management. And how I see that each of them works is like, when it comes to project definition, we have to design an adequate solution and also seek a paradigm change when we are designing, when we are formulating what we want to do. When it comes to strategic planning, at different project levels, integrate data and knowledge. So not just go for like how many downloads we are getting. And then when we are formulating the project, when we are putting out our tenders, the duties or the tasks that the service providers have to comply with or have to fulfill, write the specifications so that they considering who they are, considering that they are either developers, but they are not public servants, so they are not dealing with funds. So we have to think that all of them are the clients. So this is it. Yeah, quite in time. Thank you very much. And these are my contact details, civicplaygrounds.com, and I'm really open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Enrique. It's really interesting, and I think the key word was like using game to connect people and to provide and develop a set of shared values upon which to build up towards generating the behavioral change and therefore the impact. And this is also very close to the objectives of the participatory mapping. So I have an overview and a summary in the report on the three main interactive working sessions between the two projects. So thank you very much to everyone who participated. Very much thanks to the moderators, Codruz Papina from Urba Sofia, Faramaki from Politecnico di Milano, and Sabina Dimitriou from Urba Sofia as well. So I would leave the floor now to Codruz to report on his breakout room on nature-based solutions, and then Farah and Sabina following. So Codruz, please.
Thank you. I will share the screen just as a background for reading the points we have made. I don't think you have time, enough time to read everything while I'm resuming the work. So mainly both SPIRE and Airbrake having extensive knowledge on plants for different uses. Airbrake for air quality, SPIRE for phytoremediation. A lot of listening can happen between these two criteria. One thing that SPIRE lacks is that we don't measure air quality, and potentially in the first parts of SPIRE project is not that important, but on the long term and for the context of Baia Mare, measuring air quality is really important to see. So the knowledge Airbrake Ferrara is doing can help Baia Mare on the long term, especially in the new programming period, the green transition being supported by European Commission and the national agency, regional agency, and the national structural funds. This is something that we can work upon. Concerning methodologies and tools, Remediation Toolkit and CASMA are two tools that are flexible enough that can be adapted to different conditions. But one important thing is that, for example, Ferrara needs to have a first assessment of the kind of pollutants they have in their soil, so that those tools can be adapted to the local conditions and then potentially upscaled. One thing that we are missing in SPIRE, and we might need on a future, on a longer scale from Ferrara, is how to involve citizens in monitoring. I think it's something innovative that we haven't researched as much as we could in this project. Synergies can happen for methodologies concerning plant selections, and one important thing that we discussed is creating a predicting model for changes of environmental conditions. It's something that Ferrara is doing, and it's something that SPIRE wants to achieve with the measurements we have and with the IGS tools. And this discussion can be further along the line when we have more results of the both projects, and it's something to put a pin on this, and maybe when we finish both of our projects we see potential collaboration on this subject. Yeah, Anka, if you want to say something that I have missed, or Isabella, if you're here.
Good. Yeah. Isabella?
I'm here.
Oh, no.
Or Anka? Isabella first.
No, it's okay what Codruz says.
Anka, please. It's your turn.
There's no pressure, Anka. If you don't have anything to add, it's okay.
I think Anka was saying that what Codruz was saying was in line with our thoughts. Exactly. So, Isabella, if you have anything to add? No?
No.
Okay, so we can move to the second board and second room with Farah on participatory monitoring. And I see already that the connection was already made in the first room. They were discussing about the need of this monitoring.
Inevitably, yes, yeah.
Exactly. So, Farah.
Are you seeing the screen?
Yes.
Okay. First, I would like to thank all the one who contributed to this interactive session. They were very interactive, so it was really made my task so easy and so pleasant. So what we have shared, that mostly the knowledge of Airbrake was mostly related to the air quality monitoring and the question of citizen engagement throughout this process. and also the data sharing. So either at the level of data interoperability coming from different sources, but also the data sharing with the public by developing all the data visualization aspects. From the SPIRE, let's say, side, it is more related the knowledge on how to use Earth observation data to inform the mapping and the development of the ELEI app as a rewarding mechanism, and also as a way for, they say, the blockchain for the local currency rewarding system. What can be transferable? It is mostly for air brake, all the environment of the air quality monitoring and the co-creation methods. Mostly what lack SPIRE, and there is a common point with what you have said before, code root, is the question of citizen involvement and monitoring, but it is mostly related to the type of the challenge. So the air quality challenge is different from the soil challenge. So the question of what literature and what kind of past experience happening where citizen science or citizen engagement is also happening at this level, we aren't at the same baseline. So which brings why maybe in your case, there hasn't been this kind of engagement at that level. What we need from each other, I think it's here where the synergy happen. And at that point, I will go to the synergy directly and avoid the second panel, because this is where most of the concrete crossing points happen. It is more about the role of the urban hubs that has been implemented in both projects. So on the urban hub of SPIRE and the urban hub Ferrara on the side of air brake. One of the question is how to make these urban hubs and feed them on the long term. So make them sustainable beyond the project lifespan. One of the differences between air brake and SPIRE that in your case in SPIRE, the urban hub is the first, it's pioneer, it's the first place happening. In the case of air brake, it came and integrated an open lab that was already existing, just recent, it's there since 2 years, and it's already implemented in the city and becoming a lighthouse. So one of the synergies probably to build in the future and to explore and integrate knowledge is one, how to feed the economic sustainability of these spaces and their programming to play a role as urban centers that dialogue and drive citizen engagement on environmental challenges, and how they can be as lighthouses to not only make capacity building and bridging, but also make visible the messages and make visible the capacities and the ecosystem that is operating at urban level to address these challenges. So the question of networks of these urban centers can be something to explore on the future, because they can be also a drive for behavioral change and also citizen engagement. So I can stop here, but if anyone would like to add on what I have said, just feel free to do it.
Maybe Sorin? Or from SPIRE? Otherwise, you can move straight to the third room with Sabina. Or Eugenia, of course, if you want to complement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe there's nothing.
Okay, I just can say maybe it's, since we have this strong interest in promoting this idea of co-monitoring on environmental aspects and with this physical and digital both dimensions, I think UIA could be really a good booster for making networks on the projects that as our projects also have are dealing with this challenge. And yeah, so this could be a great outcome of this day.
Very good insight. Okay, I will take the floor, and we are now at the final panel. Hopefully you can see it.
Oh no, it's all black.
Not yet.
Sorry, it's happening. I don't know why. After the last Zoom update, this has been very difficult. Let me know if you can see it now.
Yes.
Perfect. So we have been the discussion on gamification and behavioral change. In what concerns what the knowledge that we both of the projects have can transfer, lack, and need from each other. Just to summarize, Airbrake does have a more personalized approach. They have the expertise in designing game narrative, and that can also be transferred. A lot of focus in the project is on custom approaches, custom solutions. They engage more target users. We inspire, we do leverage on youth involvement a lot, but they have involved, for example, students, employees, citizens in general. The rewarding is also on virtual and real incentives as well in Airbrake. And of course, there's a lot of knowledge on solutions and technical and organizational tools and solutions that can be transferred, as well as keeping participants engaged. On our side, we are on the project, on the SPIRE project side, we have the approach of the overarching approach of putting a price on things. For our project, it's environmental action, but we have this methodology of tokens as tools and tokens as vectors of behavioral change. We do have an overarching solution that can be flexible enough to adopt new interventions, flexible enough that can mold into new scopes. This is something that we can transfer. It's the approach that is also scalable. So for example, if we want to expand the base of users or the complexity of the ecosystem, this can be achieved from a technical standpoint and a procedural standpoint. And because of this, because we looked at what each of the projects lack, for us, it's a more custom tailored approach. It's more sustainability at local level, how to reach all the target groups. For Airbrake, it's a more an engagement of stakeholders, another model of involving local stakeholders as sponsors for real prizes, but also the synergy among various campaigns. We think that there's a real complementarity because on Airbrake side, they have the project does have a lot of very high performing campaigns that are targeted, that are wide in scope, but very, let's say, custom tailored and can be successful this way. But the challenge was to achieve an overarching harmonization and connection, let's say the fil rouge, the red string that goes and connects all these initiatives together, whereas we do have the red string, but we would like a little bit more to understand how we can custom tailor the approach in our gamification and our ILO platform to different target groups. So alternate models of communication, designing for specific activities for people. In what concerns tools and methods, I will just briefly present them, but I think that we can also skip for the third panel. It's basically more of the same. There are some synergies between the projects. I would say quite a lot of them. And also there is a match between the transferability of the solutions of Airbrake and the transferability of the solutions of SPIRE. Then this brings us to how can we develop synergies, integrate knowledge, and upscale and readapt. So with this in mind, with the possibility of bringing a little bit more custom tailoring and contextualization and really driving into what motivates each target group or citizen group and person in what concerns SPIRE, and finding an overarching standard, let's say standardized, but also flexible approach on behalf of Airbrake. We were a little bit more practical. So in terms of developing strategies, we thought of the fact that, of course, we can share documentation. Of course, we can share technical details. We can make joint webinars to share campaigns, the results and lessons learned. But we also can make a joint repository of successful local calls or campaigns that can inspire both projects as well as projects or interested parties on the outside. And this is the possibility of sharing webinars. in terms of integrating knowledge, more of the same, but also possibilities of joint reports or publications involving the lead experts, possibly in cooperating for their journals or for their outputs. And also, of course, leveraging on what the Urban Innovative Actions puts at our disposal, including possible capitalization actions or events. What I think is really important for integrating knowledge, again, is lessons learned, the good and the bad. If it didn't work, it's very valuable information to create this kind of a safe space between two projects where we can really discuss not towards the whole public, but between ourselves, what are the main barriers, what are the bad lessons learned, so to speak. And in terms of upscale and readaptation, if we can marry the two approaches together, this opens up a lot of possibilities for sustainability and for continuation, including under different European funding. And this means maybe Horizon Europe possible. So it's the possibility of combining the SPIRE token approach with the air brake targeted custom tailored tools in order to make a more, let's say, a 360 solution that can be easily replicated in other cities as well. And that leads us to the last point. Maybe it would be an option to understand whether we can jointly co-organize at the end of the project sustainability and transfer workshops with the networks that we have. We are in contact with a lot of cities. I'm sure that Airbrake is in contact with a lot of cities. So let's try and have this meeting in which we present this kind of a concept and see what needs, what barriers we can gauge from these kinds of potential transfer workshops, which would be ultimately valuable. I will stop here and I will ask my colleagues in the third session whether they would like to add anything. I'm certain I missed something. So.
No, Sabina, at least not from my side. The only thing I want to say is I really want to thank all the participants and Pietro for organizing today's event, okay? Because I really agree with you that there are great opportunities for collaboration, both within Airbrake and SPIRE project, and as you said, beyond. So we can really think about building something together also for the upscale of what we are doing now.
Thank you very much, Sabina and Anna Paula, of course, for your work, Sabina, also for the summary. And to wrap it up, I think that's the complementarity, I think, is really the key word between these two projects. We face and we tackle complementary challenges. We develop complementary tools and methods to face them, which are adapted, of course, to the actual situation and context we work in, but that they can be readapted, upscaled, and transferred to a different context. So I really think that we are working in parallel with a potential to integrate and cross-cut our experiences and activities at any time on each of these fields. So I really believe that we can readapt and tailor our overarching and general approaches to the specific needs. And this collaboration on two layers can be really beneficial in the future. So I'm very much keen on this sustainable and transfer workshop at the end of the project, as well as to organize maybe more thematic, periodic exchange moments, also really on the specific issue. Now that the connection has been made, we have the linkages now, and then we can start building from here. And I believe the first uttermost scope of this was start seeing what we have, what we can do, how we can work together, which synergy we can develop. And now that we know that there is plenty to build upon, we can start and individually at project level, at partner level, or beyond towards other initiatives, being that the European Urban Initiative or other frameworks of European fundings. So I thank you very much, all the participants for joining, for your presentations, deep dives, virtual site tours, all the materials you prepared, all the words and the thoughts you spent in this project. I thank very much the moderators, of course, for taking care of the breakout rooms, Sabina, Kodros, and Farah, and all the participants. So thank you very much, and see you soon.